And then we have to click the go live button on YouTube.
Have you silenced your shit?
Once we go live on YouTube. No, I haven't. Oh, we're already live.
Hello, Glidus.
Crazy how that works. Hello, Swift.
Are you hungry?
Oh, I am hungry.
Are you ravenous?
I'm not quite ravenous.
Are you ravishing?
Are you badgerous?
I've got a rumble in my
tumble.
and I'm ready to grumble.
Did it occur to you that we're doing this on the day of American Thanksgiving?
Of course, I'm giving thanks for all of the wonderful hams with the grease on the chins that we're about to describe.
Me too. Although, where I'm from, we actually call it Schwanksgliving.
I prefer to call it Ganks Schliving. It's worse.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, welcome to the stream. We're going to rank food.
We're going to try to finish.
This has been an epic project. When did we start this?
I believe it was April Fool's last year.
So this is a multi-year
and a half
project to rank every description of food in George R. Martin's Game of Thrones
I've
books.
put more effort into this than any other project since then.
I've put more effort into ranking fictional food than I have into raising my own children.
Into cooking. I've thought more about fictional food than real food.
I think that... So we've done like 20 hours of this series so
who can
far.
remember?
Is that longer than the Game of Thrones audiobook?
I don't know. I've never listened to it.
Our discussion of food has become a beast of its own right, you know? It's its own thing.
So deserved.
And it's all going to culminate in your food description of the Winds of Winter when you eat it.
True. I'm going to have to pen something truly magnificent for that.
It's destiny. I think we should just jump right in because if we stay efficient... I mean, we are famously efficient.
That's true. We never dilly or dally.
If we do neither of those things, I think we might actually manage to finish every food description. We're like halfway through the 5th book of Dance with Dragons, the final published mainline Song of Ice and Fire book. So I think we have a shot at this, Glidus.
We sure do.
Let's give it our darndest.
Our golly gee best.
Hell yeah. What's our first food description today?
Well, we're in the Prince of Winterfell chapter. And we're at I guess this is the wedding feast of Ramsay and Arya Stark.
Yeah.
It's not actually Arya Stark, everyone. Don't tell anyone.
Of course, in the TV show, they had Sansa marry Ramsay, but in the books, it is Jane Poole who is fake Arya Stark, confusingly, in the book.
Yes, well, in the show, Sansa's not Arya either, so I guess it makes sense.
Neither Sansa nor Jane Poole are Arya. That is, I can verify that. As an ASOIAF expert, I can verify that neither Sansa nor Jane is Arya.
Well, we'll see how the Winds of Winter cracks that chestnut. But we're here at
unless George knows something that we don't.
Yeah. That'd be crazy, 2 POV characters being the same person. People have theorized worse.
Yeah, like Dario and Euron and Benjen.
Now that we're not dillying or dallying, the Lord of White Harbour had furnished the food and drink, black stout and yellow beer and wines, red and gold and purple, brought up from the warm south on fat-bottomed ships and aged in his deep cellars. Did you go at the ships? Do you want to eat the ships because they're fat?
Well, yeah, the fat bottom.
I see.
Absolutely.
Fat-bottomed ships make the rockin' world go round.
S.
The wedding guests gorged on cod cakes and winter squash, hills of neeps and great round wheels of cheese on smoking slabs of mutton and beef ribs charred almost black, and lastly on 3 great wedding pies as wide across as wagon wheels, their flaky crust stuffed to bursting with carrots, onions, turnips, parsnips, mushrooms, and chunks of seasoned pork swimming in a savoury brown gravy. Ramsay hacked off slices with his falchion, and Wyman Manderley himself served, presenting the first steaming portions to Roose Bolton and his fat Frey wife. The next to Hostine and Sir Aenys, the sons of Walder Frey.
"The best pie you have ever tasted, my lords,"
the fat lord declared.
"Wash it down with arbor gold and savour every bite. I know I shall."
True to his word, Manderley devoured 6 portions, 2 from each of the 3 pies, smacking his lips and slapping his belly and stuffing himself until the front of his tunic was half brown with gravy stains and his beard was flecked with crumbs of crust. Even fat Walder Frey could not match his gluttony, though she did manage 3 slices herself. Ramsay ate heartily as well, though his pale bride did no more than stare at the portion set before her.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I think we should discuss this meal as it's given to us on the page without digging into what else it might be.
You don't want to mention the elephant in the room?
We should do that secondarily, I think.
Okay.
But I would like to discuss this at face value first, and then we'll discuss the human flesh.
Because we all know that you have very strong feelings about cannibalism.
That's true.
You have some very
call me a prude.
Controversial takes on cannibalism, specifically that one should not engage in it.
Well, look, I don't want to come off as an extremist.
Yeah, well, we'll forgive your radical ideas about the consumption of human flesh, but I don't want to bury the lead. I think this is obviously an S.
It's fantastic.
This is like an incredible food description.
It really is. George is loving this one.
Even just the drinks. The black stout, the yellow beer, the red, gold, purple wines. And
purple wine, is that like Ribena?
But even, like, he doesn't just say this is what the drinks are. He tells us the story of where these drinks came from.
That's
brought up from the warm south on fat-bottomed ships and aged in his deep cellars. Like, it's got a
so
whole
tangible
history.
Yeah.
It has a visceral history, and every stage of the creation and transportation of these beverages has deepened their deliciousness. This is a feast that transcends time and space. And that's just the drinks menu.
Yeah, it's just the drinks menu.
Cod
It has
cakes,
to be an S.
winter squash, hills of neeps,
This is the stuff, Lino.
a mountain of neeps.
A mountain of neeps.
Oh, yeah. Smoking slabs of mutton, charred black beef ribs, flaky pie crusts filled with vegetables.
It just sounds It's
Yes, this absolutely is an S.
the top of food. However, Wyman may have done us dirty.
Yeah, there is a catch. there is a very small asterisk. We better read the small text on these pies.
You have no idea how much butter is in these things.
Who's in these pies?
These pies have a couple of phrases in them. I'm sorry to tell you. I mean, maybe. Probably.
Yeah, it's not yet confirmed, but it's very, very heavily implied that these pies contain the murdered corpses of, what is it, Simon and Rhaegar
Harry,
and
Curly, and Mo.
and Wooble Frey, who seem to have been murdered by Wyman as revenge for the death of Wyman's son at the Red Wedding. And it connects to the story of the rat cook, and of course part of the context is that Winterfell is like snowed in over the course of this book, and like people are running out of food and starving later on, but now we have all this plenty, and it's sort of foolhardy to be eating all of this wonderful food at the beginning of winter when everyone's about to suffer. So there's a lot of like broader contextual things going on. Not only is it an absolute banger delicious food description, but it has like political and personal context that makes it all the more scrumptious.
Scrumdiddlyumptious.
Whoa.
So, how do you feel that the presence of the flesh of those 3 fellas affects the meal?
I mean, there's multiple courses and dishes going on here. If given the option to eat the dish that does not contain human flesh, I will avoid the human flesh dish in this case.
You will not eat 6 slices?
I mean, the flaky crusts are filled with like vegetables and stuff. Maybe I would eat the crust.
Just eat around the meat. Yeah.
I'd eat around the
It's
human
easy.
flesh. That's my approach.
Just pick around it if you don't like it.
It can't all be like. Surely it's human flesh plus gravy and animal.
Oh, of course.
Meat. Like you wouldn't, because I feel like it would taste very wrong if it was just human meat going on.
Well, yeah, in a pie like this, you don't just put like pig flesh or cow flesh.
Yeah. So I feel like it would not be terrible, but it's not what I'm into cannibalism wise. I think. I had to think about it, but no, I don't want to eat.
So
the
you won't
fries.
eat the pie. Does this change? Is this no longer an S tier meal?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it should be downgraded to an A
An A, yeah.
because the rest of it is still amazing.
It's fantastic.
Like if you drink enough of that purple wine,
Yeah,
from those
I'm
fat
eating as
bottom
many
ships,
human flesh as you want me to.
My cannibalism complaints are inversely proportional to how much purple wine I drink. You know,
How much Ribena spiked with vodka you've had.
yeah, that's right.
That's what I imagine the purple wine is.
Yeah, it's just Kool-Aid with a bit of
Tequila, yeah.
Kool-Aid and gin. The old KAG.
Well, hold on, he's cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
K-A-N-G.
Yeah, you never had a KA and G? It's an S. It's an S.
It's an S. Sorry, fellas, about your flesh being in the pie, but it was still pretty good.
Apologies for the flesh. Still tasty.
Still S. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for your generous super chats and donations. Since we are a model of well-oiled efficiency over here, we are going to respond to your super chats and donations towards the end of the live stream. Because for now, we are laser-focused on the food.
Hyper-focused.
What's next?
Oh, is this the next feast where
So
Balon Swan has come to Dawn?
yeah, so this is a whole plotline that is not in the TV show, but House Martell of Dawn demand the skull of Gregor Clegane, who killed their beloved Oberyn Martell. And so there's this whole thing where they bring down a skull, and someone notices that like the teeth are wrong, so it's probably not actually Gregor Clegane's
Isn't it too
skull.
small as well?
Yeah, and there's like theories about maybe it's like one of the dwarfs that Cersei murdered, maybe it's his skull, because now you got Robert Strong walking around, the resurrected Gregor Clegane, who does
He probably
presumably
has
have a skull.
Gregor's skull, yeah.
Unless Rob's head or Joffrey's head or something is on there. There's all sorts of
Pretty
theories.
crazy.
But
Messed up
I
stuff.
love how we jump from wintry, cold, frozen Winterfell to the other side of the continent in Dawn, where everything's summery and spicy and peppery.
I mean, the order of the chapters in these books must have been such a, prescient task for George.
Yeah. I mean, it creates so many interesting contrasts and interconnections.
Yeah. Must have agonized over that.
The feast continued late into the night, presided over by the grinning skull on its pillar of black marble.
Ooh.
7 courses were served in honor of the 7 gods and the 7 brothers of the Kingsguard. The soup was made with eggs and lemons, the long green peppers stuffed with cheese and onions. There were lamprey pies, capons glazed with honey, a whisker fish from the bottom of the Greenblood that was so big it took 4 serving men to carry
Is
it
that
to
a
table.
massive catfish?
I reckon. After that came a savory snake stew.
Whoa.
Chunks of 7 different sorts of snakes,
What the
slow
hell?
simmered with dragon peppers and blood oranges, and a dash of venom to give it a good bite. The stew was fiery hot, Hotar knew, though he tasted none of it. Sherbet followed to cool the
Ooh,
tongue.
we get ice cream too? Oh my god.
For the sweet, each guest was served a skull of spun sugar. When the crust was broken, they found sweet custard inside, and bits of plum and cherry. Princess Ariane returned in time for the stuffed peppers.
Shall we discuss from this?
Well, Hotar observes that Balon had a spoon of the soup and a bite of the pepper and a leg off the capon and some fish, though he shunned the lamprey pie and tried only a small spoonful of the stew. Even that made his brow break out in sweat.
Classic.
When Hotar first came to Dawn, the fiery food would tie his bowels in knots and burn his tongue.
Is this George reminiscing on when he first came to New Mexico?
Yeah. Yeah. You might be right. So yeah, that's our food description. Because yeah, George grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey, and he is now settled in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which has a radically different cuisine.
They're very
going
different
on.
places, yeah.
What are you feeling for this food description?
I mean, a lot of it sounds just wonderful and very intriguing, curious stuff. A savory snake stew with 7 different sorts of snake slow simmered.
Oh my god, the
alliteration, it makes my mouth water.
George has bars.
I've never eaten snake, but my goodness,
it's a good thing we've got a pop filter on the microphone, or we'd be slathering it in saliva and spittle with that one. And yeah, I love the whisker fish, which, yeah, I guess it must be
a massive catfish.
Catfish. And I love that he calls it a whisker fish. It's like our alligators are called lizard lions.
Yeah.
You know, it just creates a little bit of that fantasy thing by giving it a different name so that it feels unfamiliar and exotic and
maybe
exciting.
That's just what George calls them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there are actual fish called whisker fish. But yeah, it feels like catfish, don't it? I mean, just the fact that this whole feast is taking place beneath a grinning skull on a pillar of black marble.
Ominous, and we're being served venom and skulls.
Yeah, it's dark. And of course, you know, the desserts that are shaped like skulls with custard inside and red plum and cherry inside. Like, they are celebrating the death of Gregor Clegane.
It's quite violent, but it sounds delicious.
Its revenge is sweet, right? They got revenge on Gregor.
And there's sherbet too, so it's served cold as well.
Yeah.
Revenge is best served cold, and it's sweet.
Hell yeah. But yeah, the fire and the death does foreshadow the downfall of House Martell, which I do think is coming as well.
What about the soup made with eggs and lemons? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd try it. It sounds good. Sounds weird,
this
but I'd try it.
This all sounds pretty damn good.
The peppers stuffed with cheese and onions sound fantastic.
I don't know about serving venom. Like, is that actually going to do anything? Because venom, of course, affects the body when it's injected, not ingested.
Yeah, and I imagine cooking it might make it maybe less dangerous. But I mean, you wouldn't want to have like
it's fun, though.
You wouldn't want to have like an ulcer or something in your mouth and then have the venom and then just die at the table.
It'd be a cool affair, though.
I'm feeling like this is an A. Like, I agree. There's a little bit of mystery here. Like, I don't know if the egg lemon soup is gonna be good. But
I like how that's the most questionable thing here.
Well, look, I mean, the venom is questionable, but I can imagine it like snake stew with peppers and blood oranges. I mean, that sounds like an incredibly good time.
I do love a blood orange.
You get points for style.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't. Not everything needs to taste perfect if the presentation is amazing. The presentation of the sweet skulls with the custard inside is incredible.
Yeah, and like, isn't spun sugar extraordinarily intricate to make? Especially like in the shape of a skull. Are you kidding? That's insane.
The Martells are going to a lot of effort
to gloat about Gregor
to tell
Clegane's
Balon,
death.
Hey, we are so glad that your guy's dead.
We're stoked. It doesn't even bother us that much. No, that's not true. It very much bothers them that Oberyn is dead, but Gregor being dead is pretty cool too.
And Gregor, of course, is one of the worst people in this world.
Yeah, I'm happy he's dead too.
Like, he is a prolific war criminal, and now he's dead. So that is a cause for celebration.
He's not exactly dead, though, is he?
Yeah, well...
That's the concerning thing.
Still a lot of unanswered questions about Robert Strong.
Hey, so the grinning skull is on a pillar of black marble. Oily black stone, anyone?
Whoa, squishes anyone?
Because the texture of marble, it looks sort of oily, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this feels like such a horror prop. This is like a Halloween prop, a skull on a pillar of black marble. It's and it's grinning. The skull is happy. Because in a way, it's like the Martells think they won here, but did they? No. Oberyn is dead.
And Gregor being dead doesn't really change anything.
And Quentin's about to die, and Ariane's probably going to die, and Doran's going to probably die. And the Lannisters are still on the throne. So... is this really victory, or is this just everyone going to hell in a handbasket together, you know? And so all the fire and death here is alluding to that, I feel.
Great passage. A-tier food, though.
A-tier food. What's next?
Well, we're back with Jon now. And is this what Val's been given to go back?
Yeah, so Val is riding out, and this is another little subplot that wasn't in the TV show.
Val existing.
Yeah, Val is like this hot wildling who Stannis thinks is politically important because she's Dalla's sister.
Who was Mance's queen.
Yeah.
But what Stannis doesn't understand is that that's not really how anything works for the wildlings. They don't care.
Yeah, the wildlings don't actually care about Val's political relationship to Mance. So she's not necessarily as politically important as Stannis thinks she is. However, she is a babe, and she's also like a highly competent wildling.
It's a bit comedic, isn't it, that Jon is offered the hot babe because Stannis misunderstands wildling politics.
Yeah. And despite his misunderstanding, it is true that like a marriage alliance between Val and Jon would have a lot of symbolic value, and could actually do a lot in terms of uniting. So it's kind of a commentary on that idea that, like, yes, the idea that Val is, quote, a wildling princess, it's a made-up idea, but it could actually be used politically in a meaningful way. It's like that power is a shadow on the wall thing.
Maybe it's just as made up as any other person being a princess.
Yeah, exactly. But part of the deal before Stannis rides off to war is he tells Jon, hey, like, keep Val close since she's such a valuable political pawn.
Oh, Val, it's short for valuable.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it is.
No, it's not.
And Jon agrees. He's like, yeah, okay, Stannis, I'll keep her close. And then a few chapters later, Jon releases Val, and he sends Val off into the Haunted Forest to go and find Tormund, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or just to rally the rest of the wildlings who are out there. So it's another example of Jon lying and breaking his word and not being Professor Honorable, which is in such stark contrast to the boring, uncompromising absolutist in the Game of Thrones TV show.
Gosh, he's so boring, isn't he?
This might be too much context. The point is that the hot wildling babe Val is riding north, and she has been given some provisions for her journey.
And those provisions are hard bread, hard cheese, oat cake, salt cod, salt beef, salt mutton, and a skin of sweet wine to rinse all that salt out of her mouth.
So I think the fact that Jon has provided so thoroughly for Val is an indication of Jon's attraction and affection for Val.
He's got the hots.
He didn't need to give her all this, but he did. And, you know, this is a big act of trust, letting her go free and hoping that she's going to return. So yeah, what would you eat all that?
I mean, it'd get me through, wouldn't it? It's food. It's fuel for your body.
Yeah, none of it sounds very enjoyable. And as she says, the salt sounds overwhelming. I feel like the sweet wine on top of the salt might just be even more overwhelming.
Yeah, it's just too much.
And it's going to be hard to chew all that hard bread and hard cheese.
Even the oat cakes, yeah.
So it doesn't sound great, does
But you know what? She's not going to die of hunger. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's food.
I feel like a C or a D.
Yeah.
I feel like a D. Like, it's pretty unappetizing to
D
me.
to things that are edible, but like just fine.
Yeah, there's still E and F if we want to get into the really wretched stuff later on. All right. So then, in the same chapter, Jon Snow has breakfast. Dolorous Ed made the trek to the kitchens and soon was back with a tankard of brown ale and a covered platter. Under the lid, Jon discovered 3 duck's eggs fried in drippings, a strip of bacon, 2 sausages, a blood pudding, and half a loaf of bread still warm from the oven.
Ooh.
He ate the bread and half an egg. He would have eaten the bacon too, but the raven made off with it before he had the chance.
Thief!
Jon said, as the bird flapped up to the lintel above the door to devour its prize.
Thief!
The raven agreed.
Thank you.
Can I just say, your voice acting, sublime.
Thank you. This sounds like a pretty good breakfast.
I mean, it's good enough that Bloodraven felt the need to skin change into the raven. I mean, come on, you really think the raven... That's Bloodraven saying thief.
I don't know. I could buy it being the actual raven.
Doesn't Ygritte say that Ygritte looks at the thief constellation in the stars, and she says that Jon stole her from her home, which is the wildling custom of marriage.
Yeah.
So by wildling marriage custom...
Oh, the raven has wedded the bacon.
When
let
the
all
raven
the world beware.
weds the bacon, let all the world beware.
Very good.
Although he's now consuming his wife, so I guess that's a Nissa parallel, isn't it?
Honestly, this breakfast here is only like a tin of baked beans short of a full English.
Yeah. No, this is proper. This is the good stuff.
Yeah.
This is the, like, give you colon cancer within 5 years stuff. Eat that every day.
Sounds good.
Yeah. There's like 5 different kinds of meat in there. My gosh. And not a green thing to be seen.
Delicious.
How would you rate it?
Look, B maybe?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I feel like it really needs some spinach, you know?
Yeah.
It really needs some spinach, but I would enjoy it very much, and I'm glad that the Raven is enjoying it as well. Wun Wun was very little like the giants in Old Nan's tales, those huge, savage creatures who mixed blood into their morning porridge and devoured whole bulls, hair and hide and horns. This giant ate no meat at all, though he was a holy terror when served a basket of roots, crunching onions and turnips, and even raw, hard neeps between his big, square teeth.
Isn't that wonderful that the giants are vegetarians?
I like there's a bit of rhythm in raw, hard neeps and
hair
big,
and
square
hide
teeth.
Hair and hide and
hair
horns.
and hide and horns. He goes to town on the alliteration
Yeah.
when he's describing food. I love it. Visceral. Fantastic.
What do you think of the food being described here, though?
So the first description, I think, is the blood in
porridge.
the morning porridge.
And eating an entire bull.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like if you had the ability and the capacity to eat a whole bull,
Like if you were a dragon.
it would be a great time.
Yeah, probably.
Like, no one who's eating a whole bull is not enjoying it.
Like, you'd probably just feel proud of yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
You would be reveling in your strength that you're able to consume an entire bull.
I could conquer the Holy Land if I had eaten a whole bull. I could run a marathon.
Exactly.
I could do one of those one-handed push-ups if I ate a whole bull.
Wow.
Hair, hide, and horns.
I could do a backflip.
I could do anything. So I think it's a good food description. Although I think the blood in the morning porridge is less appealing.
Yeah, what's that for?
I think it might taste rank. I mean, we've talked about blood sausages and blood pudding, and there's a lot of like blood used
The
in
blood
cooking.
porridge,
that
that's
could be
just
a
like
thing.
blood and wet oats.
It's like putting blood onto your Weetabix instead of milk.
Well, hold on.
Am I cooking?
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it sounds dreadful. So I am charmed by the eating the whole bull, but I'm not super into the blood porridge.
Like, people say they're so hungry they could eat a horse,
Yeah.
which it's pretty easy to eat a horse. You just have to get in the stirrups properly. Thank you. But like, if you actually did eat a horse, how fulfilled would you feel?
I would feel a little bit sad because I feel like horses are such majestic
Yeah,
creatures.
it's true. But,
Like-
but so are cows.
Well, a bull, I feel like I would just feel accomplished at defeating this, powerful
I
animal.
would feel accomplished at defeating a horse. Horses are like not to be sniffed at.
Yeah, I don't know if somehow I just see them as more innocent.
Oh no, horses have done some fucked up things. They were there for the Crusades, They didn't stop it.
I've seen Seabiscuit. I've seen
seen
Secretariat.
BoJack Horseman.
I've seen
That
Shadowfax.
Horses never do anything wrong. I don't think BoJack Horseman's the one to invoke in that scenario.
Also, all right, if you have to eat a horse, I think a lifelong alcoholic horse might taste better. Well, no, not
What?
a lifelong
No.
alcoholic horse. A recent alcoholic horse. A horse that has been in its athletic prime for its entire life until this week, at which point it's been pretty much just immersed in bourbon.
So far lap.
I'm just
at the end
thinking
of his life.
a bourbon horse. Just a bourbon-soaked
Okay,
horse.
yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah,
That's going to be a good time. That'd
that-
be a good meal.
Is that going to find its way into the winds of winter?
Maybe. I'm sure George is listening.
Thank you, George. So that sounds like a middling meal, an entire horse and blood porridge. But what about the basket of roots?
I would not want to eat all those raw roots. I would not. I'm sorry.
I think, like, I might get through one bite of an onion, but that's it.
I feel like even one bite of a raw onion, it's not going to be a fun time.
No, I'm not enjoying that.
So I feel like the blood porridge and bull is a B, mostly just for the fun and weirdness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling that the raw roots are a D.
That's crazy how the blood porridge outranked some vegetables.
I know it's controversial,
But they are
but
raw,
I mean,
yeah.
a whole bull is just too much fun.
We're back with Theon.
Back with Theon in Winterfell. Inside, the cooks were ladling out beef and barley stew, thick with carrots and onions, served in trenchers hollowed from loaves of yesterday's bread. Scraps were thrown onto the floor to be gobbled up by Ramsay's girls and the other dogs.
Like, it sounds fine, and like it unsettles me. That last sentence unsettles me, of course.
Yeah, it is unsettling, but I mean, I think it's an A. I would eat the hell
There's
out
a
of beef and barley stew. Like,
Yesterday's bread, that's exactly what it's for.
yeah. No, I think that's a good time.
Yeah.
I think that's a good time. I'm feeling A.
If I'm one of Ramsay's girls or a dog, like I'm gobbling up those scraps, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're a dog, it's an S.
Oh,
because
totally.
It's only better if you're a pet getting that kind of grade A nosh. So, yeah, I feel like that's an A. So then, with Stannis's army, things are getting bad. So Stannis is marching on Winterfell to defeat the Boltons, and they're running out of food. So they supped that night on a venison stew made from a scrawny heart that a scout called Benjicot Branch had brought down, but only in the royal tent. Beyond those canvas walls, each man got a heel of bread and a chunk of black sausage no longer than a finger, washed down with the last of Galbert Glover's ale.
Which finger are we talking?
Yeah, that's an important
This makes
question.
a big difference.
I mean, would you even make a sausage as small as a little finger?
Oh, Littlefinger.
Little finger sausage.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it depends on whose Littlefinger, but more to the point, I think you can just cut up the sausage to serve to people. You don't have to make it the size
Right,
of
it's a
finger.
chunk of
Yeah.
sausage. No, a chunk of sausage no longer. Have they cut the sausage lengthways to make little triangular prisms
I
of
think
sausage?
they've cut it breadthways, actually.
Breadthways.
They've actually used the circumference of the sausage to measure.
Because it is really about girth when it comes down to it.
Because a sausage, of course, has length and a circumference and a girth. Yes,
Whereas the heel of bread has breadth.
yes, breadth.
Yes. This is some basic food geometry. Don't say you're not learning out here.
Yeah, it's ain't it crazy how bologna's circular but bread is square?
That is wild.
They've had to square the circle. Like, this problem has been plaguing food architects for centuries.
Yeah, no, we'll crack the code one day. So the venison stew made from a scrawny heart, it's pretty nondescript. I feel like that's a B because it's nondescript and the heart is scrawny.
The heart is scrawny, yeah. I mean, venison stews, like, I think B is perfectly good there because, I mean, how's it going to be worse than that? It's venison stew.
Then the heel of bread and the chunk of black sausage no longer than a finger. I mean, like, food geometry aside, it doesn't sound great. That's not a meal, really. It's just, you know, I mean, that's what you get after voting.
Yeah. It really is. They've been given the democracy snag.
They have. They've been given the election classic.
But without the onion.
Without the onion and without
You
the sauce.
gotta have the onion and the sauce.
Yeah, so I think that this is a C at best.
Nah, this is D.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go D. And then, later in the chapter, things continue to get worse. On the 26th day of the 15-day march, the last of the vegetables was consumed. On the 32nd day, the last of the grain and fodder. Asher wondered how long a man could live on raw, half-frozen horse meat.
It's a good question.
Mythbusters. I think that was a banned episode of Mythbusters where Adam Savage just only ate raw horse for like a month in Jamie's backyard and eventually had to be hospitalized due to he was all full of worms in the end, as it turns out.
Of course.
Like raw horse meat, just chock full of parasites. One of those worms actually survived and went on did like the talk show circuit in Nebraska. The most famous worm in Nebraska.
What are
they
you
call
talking about?
What do you think about the food description?
Look, it sounds fucking horrible.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because they describe like they just start butchering the horses because there's nothing else to eat. This is like a death march that Stannis' army is conducting towards Winterfell, and it sucks for everyone, including the horses.
Definitely the horses.
I think that's a F.
F?
It's raw,
half
frozen horse meat.
Yeah,
and
Gordon
you
Ramsay does not
know
approve.
as you're eating it that you're probably going to die. Like, the very fact that you're
Yeah.
eating that meal, it's like things are extremely grim and are probably only going to get more grim. Like, this is the sort of meal where it's like, yeah, let's just do the battle so I
Yeah.
can die
This
and I
is-
can stop eating frozen horse meat.
None of this savory delicacy of a wedding feast, right? Where the context is, oh, isn't it wonderful how bountiful we've all been? Like, no, you're eating this because you're going to die.
Yeah, this is no spun sugar skull. This is no women's cake. This is death
A
food.
special cake.
I think it's
It cracks me up. A special half-frozen raw horse meat that only women can eat. I don't know what it tastes like, but it smells delicious.
It's like when you're trying to like trick a little kid or a dog into like
Yeah.
eating its vegetables or medicine, and you're like,
Just,
"Oh, look,
I wish I could have that.
it's a deworming tablet. Oh, what a delicacy! You better get it before I do." You could do that with half frozen horse. What do you think? What do you think is the most inedible
you could-
thing that you could trick me into eating?
I could definitely trick a dog into eating half-frozen horse meat.
This is
I wouldn't even have to trick it.
This is a game that you can play at home with your partner. What's the most rank thing that you can convince them to eat through sheer enthusiasm?
I don't think I'd have to try. You're pretty eager to eat all sorts of things.
Not human flesh.
Oh, I could hide it pretty well, I think.
Not a milk loaf.
I've seen you eat milk loaf.
Yeah, that's not true. I would never.
We're hanging out with Daenerys again. She's had a special women's cake.
And she's not mentioned it, so it can't have been that
Yeah,
remarkable.
or maybe it didn't actually exist and Reznak was full of shit.
Yeah, I think Reznak was probably full of shit.
Dany sat amongst the rumpled bedclothes with her arms about her knees, so forlorn that she did not hear when Missandei came creeping in with bread and milk and figs.
Dany took a fig. It was black and plump, still moist with dew.
I was baiting your Missandei impression. That's why I paused.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, look, there's got to be an accent in there, but it's just going to come across as objectionable in some way or another.
That's why people watch.
Also, she's like what? She's like 11 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know what voice does an 11-year-old Nathi girl have.
Your Grace, are you unwell?
Except she's like very literate and intelligent as well. She's probably got like excellent, because she's like a translator, right?
Yeah.
So she probably has like excellent pronunciation. Your Grace, are you unwell? In the black of night, this one heard you scream.
I'll buy that. Yeah. Watch out, Natalie Emmanuel.
So how do you feel about a black, plump, moist fig?
A fig's supposed to be black?
I'm not a big fig guy, and like the bread and milk is
Not
very
big on figs?
nondescript.
Yeah, it's just bread and milk. There's
Yeah.
nothing special about it.
None of this is very exciting.
I mean, it sounds like it's supposed to be like it's freshly picked because it's still moist with dew, so it's probably good. The wasp in there is probably only recently died.
It might still be buzzing around in there.
Yeah.
I would eat it, but I would not be excited about it.
Okay. That sounds like a C to me.
Yeah, I think it's a C.
That night, her cooks roasted her a kid with dates and carrots, but Dany could only eat a bite of it. A kid being a baby goat, right?
Or a child.
Oh, yes, of course. A small human.
I think this sounds great.
Yeah, goat with dates and carrots. Can't go wrong. That's B at least.
Yeah, it's not very super described,
Yeah, and I think that's because, like, Dany doesn't have much of an appetite at this point.
but it sounds like a great... And, like, multiple cooks worked on
Yeah.
this roasted goat.
And they're her cooks.
I think it's an A.
A.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe that's just my imagination reading into it, but I think it would be great. When he was gone, Missandei brought the queen a simple meal of goat cheese and olives, with raisins for a sweet. Your Grace needs more than wine to break her fast. You are such a tiny thing, and you will surely need your strength today.
Imagine being told that by an 11-year-old.
That made Daenerys laugh, coming from a girl so small.
Yeah.
She relied so much on the little scribe that she oft forgot that Missandei had only turned 11. They shared the food together on her terrace.
Aww.
I love all these like just intimate, vulnerable moments with Daenerys while she's trying to be this badass wartime dragon queen. But we're reminded that, she is just a vulnerable person, and
She's a
Daenerys is so
teenager.
young herself, and I love seeing this side of her.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't see it enough in, like, this part of the Game of Thrones show.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically been abandoned that Daenerys is actually quite young. And, like, so Jon also is no longer quite young in Game of Thrones.
Time does funny things in that show.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the goat cheese and olives with raisins?
It sounds like a lovely snack.
Yeah.
Charcuterie.
Is this like on like biscuits or something on crackers, or is this just straight cheese, olives, and raisins? I feel like you need it to be on something.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just the cheese, olives, and raisins.
That's a bit deranged, in my opinion. It's a bit intense.
Yeah, you need something bland to pace out all that flavor.
Well, I mean, it depends on the cheese, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. This is like honestly, for me, this is a C.
Yeah, okay. C for milk loaf.
That don't be loaf talking me, all right?
And I think Missandei's right. I think teenagers shouldn't start their day with a cup of wine.
Maybe that's why Daenerys is short. So the giant, Wun, says,
Oh, sorry.
Eat now, Wun.
"Eat now," Jon agreed. To Leathers, he said, "I'll send out a bushel of vegetables for him and meat for you. Start a fire." Leathers grinned.
I will, my lord, but hardens is bone cold. Perhaps my lord could send out some wine to warm us. For you, not him.
Wun had never tasted wine until he came to Castle Black, but once he had taken a gigantic liking to it.
God damn it, George.
Too much a liking. Jon had enough to contend with just now, without adding a drunken giant to the mix. So the meal is a bushel of vegetables and meat,
Wow.
plus some wine.
Probably a lot of wine, actually. If we're getting a giant drunk.
Yeah, I think Jon's trying to avoid Wun drinking the wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a very fun little passage. Just the logistics of having to feed a giant plus all the men. A bushel of vegetables. What does a bushel of vegetables look like?
Well, you never serve yourself a bushel of vegetables?
Not a whole bushel, no. I've had like a half bushel, a quart bushel at most in
I
one
think
sitting.
there's like there's a volume of vegetables at which it becomes a bushel.
How do you measure a bushel? Is it by weight, mass, density, or breadth?
It's not density. I truly think it is like just raw space taken up, volume.
So it's yardage.
Surface area. Mileage.
Mileage. Get a lot of mileage out of a squash. What? Yeah.
Look, it's just vegetables and meat, man. I don't know what you want from me. It's C. I don't even
It's a
know
C.
what vegetables and meat I'm
It's
dealing
a C.
with.
Yeah, it's way too nondescript. It's a C. So then Alice Karstark arrives, and Jon says,
Is she eating?
Sorry, sometimes I slip into Kit Harington.
Jon asked Molly, "Only bread and broth, my lord."
Clytus rose from a chair.
"It is best to go slow," Maester Aemon always said. "Any more and she might not have been able to digest it."
Molly nodded.
Daniel had one of Hobbs' sausages and offered her a bite, but she wouldn't touch it.
Jon could not blame her for that. Hobbs' sausages were made of grease and salt and things that did not bear thinking about.
Yeah, that doesn't sound appetizing, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And the bread and broth is extremely nondescript. So this is like a D.
D, yeah.
Sausage full of things that don't bear talking about. Oh my goodness. Dave in the live chat says that a bushel is 35 liters.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
I'm just going to choose to... I don't think that's true, but I'm going to choose to believe it. So then we're in Braavos with Arya, who is impersonating Blind Beth, and she has a wolf dream, a skin-changing dream, where she psychically is connected to a direwolf Nymeria over in the Riverlands. Game had become scarer since the snows began to fall, but last night they had feasted. Lamb and dog and mutton and the flesh of man.
Ooh.
Some of her little grey cousins were afraid of men, even dead men, but not her. Meat was meat, and men were prey. She was the night wolf.
Okay, so this is metal as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Meat is meat and men were prey. She was the night wolf. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like the lyrics to a metal.
Yeah, I could imagine
Song, for
Christopher
sure.
Lee singing that.
I would headbang to this.
Yeah.
Lamb and dog and mutton and the flesh of man.
I mean, if you're a wolf, S tier, right?
Yeah, that's the best thing that's ever happened to you if you're a wolf.
But we're not wolves.
No, I'm also not like keen on the dog as well as on the human. So I think from a human perspective, I'm gonna have to give it a D, and from a wolf perspective, I've got to give it an S.
This is the stuff, Lionel.
This is the stuff. And so then Arya's back in a human form, and she says she knew the way to the kitchens, but her nose would have led her there even if she hadn't. Hot peppers and fried fish, she decided, sniffing down the hall, and bread fresh from Umma's oven. The smells made her belly rumble. The night wolf had feasted, but that would not fill the blind girl's belly.
Aw,
Dream meat could not nourish her. She had learned that early on.
that makes sense.
She broke her fast on sardines, fried crisp in pepper oil, and served so hot they burned her fingers. She mopped up the leftover oil with a chunk of bread torn off the end of Umma's morning loaf, and washed it all down with a cup of watered wine, savouring the tastes and the smells, the rough feel of the crust beneath her fingers, the slickness of the oil, the sting of the hot pepper when it got into the half-healed scrape on the back of the hand. Hear, smell, taste, feel, she reminded herself. There are many ways to know the world for those who cannot see. Someone had entered the room behind her, moving on soft padded slippers, quiet as a mouse. Her nostrils flared. The kindly man. Men had a different smell than women, and there was a hint of orange in the air as well. The priest was fond of chewing orange rinds to sweeten his breath whenever he could get them.
Wowzers.
So there's a sensory intense
Yeah.
passage because Arya is blind at the moment, so she's relying on her other senses.
I really love that. There are many ways to know the world for those who cannot see. Like, George is really good at putting you in a character's shoes.
Yeah, I heard that as research for this chapter, George Martin wore a blindfold for an entire week.
I heard that he had Paris gouge his eyes out.
Well, only one with an ice cream scoop, I heard.
Yeah.
Pluck. But he kept wandering into traffic, so...
And everyone's high in Santa Fe, so...
Yeah, just walking around blind, going off secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you'd smell if you're walking blind around Santa Fe. You can find your way to a you just navigate by dispensary to dispensary.
Arya's nose led the way to the dispensary.
You know in the cartoons when like they smell the pie
Yeah,
and
and
they
they float
levitate
in the
off
air.
the ground? It's like that, but it's green vapor coming from the Santa Fe dispensaries.
That sounds like a South Park joke.
It does, doesn't it? I'm sure someone's done it. I think this sounds great. I mean, what she's describing is very simple. It's just
Yeah.
like fried sardines and oil.
With a bit of seasoning, yeah.
But it's described so viscerally because Arya is focusing on her senses. It's like meditation. Like you can meditate
Yeah.
on something really simple and you enjoy it
Mindfulness.
way more. Yeah, mindfulness, meditation, all that stuff.
Yeah, like, it's not very common that George... Like, obviously he brings food back to everything else.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Thanksgiving is today. Food is about family. It's about memory. It's about culture and tradition. It's about fucking everything. But here, food is about smell and taste, but also touch and
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a real exercise you can do to sort of connect closer to your body and your mind and the food, and it's
God,
wonderful.
People speculate about the state of George's like enthusiasm for writing, but like looking at stuff like this, I don't see how it's possible that he doesn't love writing all the time.
Yeah.
Like this passage just screams, I love using words.
Well, he loves sardines as well.
You know, I love sardines.
I mean, that's one of the things that we've learned from this series is that, my God, like, food can mean so many different things in so many different contexts. And food can express so many different things within a story.
Do you think we'll find the same conclusion from discussing other things? Like, people have suggested we talk about fashion in Ice and Fire. We know less about fashion than we do about food, and that is saying a lot.
Yeah, we're not qualified to discuss food at this length.
Qualified
We're
for any of
even
this.
less qualified to discuss clothes at that length.
But yeah, do you think that George is connecting everything to everything, or is food just a special conduit?
I think food is special to George. I think he is.
I think it's special to humanity.
Yes. I mean, food is super important to every culture, but I think George Martin personally has like a disproportionate interest and love of food. Like, you could do some kind of statistical analysis, but I do think that George definitely proportionally spends a lot more time writing about food than most other authors do. I think some authors like barely ever describe food. Like, if you looked at like other comparable like fantasy books, I would wager that the vast majority of them spend way less time describing food.
Like, when you think about the things that stick out to me about what George spends a lot of time on in his books, it's food and sex.
Yeah. And and sometimes both at the same time.
Ooh.
And it's connected to memory, and it's fundamentally just life and positivity and good times and nourishment, and
but also bad times.
Yeah.
Lack of food is lack of good times.
I think George is a good writer.
Yeah, I think he's wonderful. What are we rating this?
God, I mean,
it's sardines. It's fried sardines, man. What do you want?
Yeah, how do we rate?
I mean, the experience is an S, but the food itself is like B or C.
The mindful experience of engaging with one's senses vis-a-vis sardines is a tricky one to rate. But I mean, I don't know. We should just call it an A because it's just lovely writing, and I do want to eat sardines with oil and stuff now. So I think it's an A.
Cool.
Apparently, the Redwall books have some good food descriptions as well.
I have to reread Redwall now that I'm an adult.
Yeah, I wonder if it holds up.
I'm sure it's great. Pinto was in a jolly mood and gave her a cup of watered wine, a chunk of stinky cheese, and half of an eel pie.
That sounds awesome.
Thanks, Pinto.
That sounds awesome. Watered wine, stinky cheese, and half an eel pie. I mean, those are some intense flavors that we're putting together, but I would absolutely have a go. I think that's an A.
A, really? Yeah. Okay. Sure, I'll be nice.
I mean, it's going to do things to your breath and your guts. Stinky cheese and eel pie, but I mean, I'd have a go. So we're back at Winterfell with Theon. There's so much food description at Winterfell because the food is running out and things are getting serious, and it contrasts with Stannis on the outside, and this is the north where starvation happens, and it's all happening. Anyway, the garrison broke its fast that morning on stale bread fried in bacon grease. The lords and knights ate the bacon. Would you eat stale bread fried in bacon grease?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a B.
Yep.
And then the midday meal was served. Blood sausage, leeks, and brown bread, still warm from the ovens.
That sounds okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's
I mean, warm, like fresh bread is always just great.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go a B. I'm not all that big on the blood sausage and the leeks, but yeah, I'd have a go.
Nothing wrong with leeks. Manderley speared a chunk of ham with his dagger.
I recall them well. Rhaegar of the round shoulders with his glib tongue, bold Sir Jared, so swift to draw his steel, Simon the spy master, always clinking coins. They brought home Wendell's bones. It was Tywin Lannister who returned Willis to me, safe and whole as he had promised. A man of his word, Lord Tywin. 7 save his soul.
Lord Wyman popped the meat into his mouth, chewed it noisily, smacked his lips, and said,
The road has many dangers, sir. I gave your brothers guest gifts when we took our leave of White Harbour. We swore we would meet again at the wedding. Many and more bore witness to our parting. What are you suggesting, Frey?
The Lord of White Harbour wiped his mouth with his sleeve.
I do not like your tone, sir. Not one bloody bit.
Step out into the yard, you sack of sweets, and I'll serve you all the bloody bits that you can stomach. That's what I always imagined Hostine Frey sounding like, by the way.
Like a very angry ticket inspector. Would you eat a sack of suet full of bloody bits?
No, I would not. Given the choice, no.
Yeah, I think that's an A.
Yeah.
And
I don't want it.
Manderley's chunk of ham that he chews noisily and smacks his lips. It's
it's just ham.
Yeah, it's just ham. I think it's fun because like it's Wyman Wyman is talking about the phrase who he just ate
Yeah.
in those pies. And the fact that he's chewing while he's describing the phrase who he murdered and ate, I feel like it's this vengeful description of his motivations is described through food.
You know what we really need on the soundboard?
What?
Renly saying, "Is he a ham?"
Is he a ham?
How did we not get that?
I know. That's an oversight. I guess we don't need to rate the chunk of ham.
It's a chunk of ham, everyone.
But within the grand hall, the reek was palpable by eventide. With hundreds of horses, dogs, and men squeezed underneath one roof, the floors slimy with mud and melting snow, horse shit, dog turds, and even human feces, the air redolent with the smells of wet dog, wet wool, and sodden horse blankets, there was no comfort to be found amongst the crowded benches. But there was food. The cooks served up great slabs of fresh horse meat, charred outside and bloody red within,
Okay.
with roast onions and neeps. And for once, the common soldiers ate as well as the lords and knights. The horse meat was too tough for the ruins of Theon's teeth. His attempts to chew gave him excruciating pain.
Aw.
So he mashed the neeps and onions up together with the flat of his dagger and made a meal of that, then cut the horse up very small, sucked on each piece, and spat it out. That way, at least, he had the taste and some nourishment from the grease and blood.
My God.
The bone was beyond him, though, so he tossed it to the dogs and watched Grey Jane make off with it, whilst Sarah and Willow snapped at her heels.
Wowzers.
Whoa. Life and death, all linked up together.
I love that for once the common soldiers ate as well as the lords of knights. Like, desperation makes the same of all of us.
Yeah, and I think because they've just got a whole lot of horse meat available right now.
Yeah.
Isn't it true that Ramsay Bolton's dogs are named after women who he's murdered? So Grey Jane and Sarah and Willow? I think that's where those names come from.
I thought it was Buffy the Vampire
dogs.
Slayer that
What was
Willow
it?
came from.
Oh, could be both. Maybe Ramsay murdered Willow from Buffy. When are we doing
I'll never
Buffy
forgive him.
Abridged? When are we doing Buffy Abridged?
My goodness. Well, we have to finish food first, okay?
Okay.
We have to eat all of the food, and then we'll talk about Buffy.
We've got to finish our supper before we get
We
to
have
have
to talk
Buffy
about
for dessert.
Redwall and Del Toro Quest and fucking Rowan of Rin.
Oh, we're doing... Man, Buckshot are an S-tier meal.
Ranger's Apprentice Abridged.
Hell yeah.
You read those?
Someone in the live chat says that the ultimate horror for George Martin is not being able to eat. I think there's some truth in that.
I think you could extend that to most humans. I mean, they don't really... We don't think about it.
To
many of us.
varying degrees. Like, there are some people... Like, I mean, some people have conditions where they can't taste food and they can't enjoy food. Or people with, like, ultra-restricted diets. Or people who are being fed through a tube. Like, there are people
You
who...
are currently telling me horror stories.
Well, yeah. But people cope. I mean, I mean, no one's having fun not being able to eat. I think just all I'm trying to say, though, is that different people value food to a different
Yeah.
degree.
And George obviously values it very highly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this description's incredible because it starts by telling you this disgusting description
There's shit everywhere.
of the smells and the shit and the mud and the dog and the horse and the damp. It's so gross. And that's the place where these people are eating their horse meat. And there's some onions and neeps in there. But then we get, Theon's been tortured. Ramsay's pulled his teeth out. And so he can't even eat. And this overly detailed description of the discomfort of him trying to eat is so viscerally disturbing. And
Strangely, I think it's a bit heroic. Like, he's finding a way.
yeah.
Like, given how horrible these conditions are, how horribly treated his body is, he's finding a way to survive with the hand he's dealt.
Yeah.
Like, he's raging against the dying of the light, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's going on here?
And that's something that George does with Bran and with Tyrion when they overcome their disabilities, and even Varys and Grey Worm in different ways. People and Jamie, people lose parts of themselves, but they find a way to go on. And yeah, I agree, that's heroic. And George frames it all around food because that's so viscerally powerful for him.
What
so
a wonderful passage.
yeah.
What a great chapter. Theon in A Dance with Dragons is it George's best writing in the series? Maybe, I don't know.
It's up there. I mean, Winterfell for me is... Winterfell in A Dance with Dragons is one of my absolute favorite plot lines, despite the fact that nothing happens.
Right?
Like, it's build up, it's build up, it's build up. There's no climax or release or tension. But
the pizza's going to taste so good when it gets here.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the way that humanity is compacted in this plotline is incredible. All these lords and all these commoners and the dogs and the horses and the shit, and they all hate each other, and there's a murderer, there's several murderers amongst them, and Stannis is lurking outside, and all the mysteries and the tension ratchets up, and they are just compacted. And
It's animalistic. It makes
yeah.
animals out of humans, which of course we already were.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That's part of it. Like, all the dogs and they're all eating the same food. Like, men are eating horses, and the horses are eating, and the dogs are and they're all just smushed together.
Yeah, the dogs are eating the horse meat here, and they probably had some of the human flesh from the pie.
Yeah.
There are humans eating humans. There are humans eating horses, dogs eating horses, humans eating dogs, dogs eating horses.
The whole food chain is just being smushed together.
Yeah.
It's just meat. Everyone is just meat eating meat. My God. So then,
What fun.
We're on the other side of the world. Well, actually, do we rate that? I mean, obviously it's an F.
Oh yeah, it's
It's an F.
yeah. You're failing to eat horse meat while surrounded by shit.
Yeah.
That's an F tier.
I dare say.
I mean, mashing up the turnips with the flat of your dagger, like that's
It's
some
ingenious.
sustenance.
George thought about this. George was eating.
Yeah, there's a physicality.
and he was imagining, if I had no teeth, how would I
How
handle
do I
this?
eat this without teeth?
Well, it's something we all have to figure out if we reach that age. So, on the other side of the world, Tyrion is enslaved by Yezanzo Quaggas, is that his name?
I believe so, yeah.
In the Yunkish camp outside Marine, and the air smelled of roasting meat, and he saw one man skinning a dog for his stew pot. Would you eat a stewed dog and nondescript roast meat?
Look, when in Rome, you know,
Yeah, I'd
like,
try it.
who am I to turn it down? Like, I eat all sorts of other animals.
It depends on the dog. I mean, if it was my dog, I would be outraged. If it was a dog that was raised on a dog farm well, no, I mean, it is an unusually sociable, intelligent animal, which does make
So are
it
pigs.
grosser to me. Well, pigs aren't as intelligent and sociable as dogs, are they?
I don't know if that's true.
Does depend on the dog breed. as
Yeah, a
well.
lot of dogs are really fucking stupid.
Yeah. I do have a strong sense that it's like not a good thing, but I mean, if I was offered the stew, I would taste the stew.
Yeah.
If you've already stewed the dog, you
Yeah,
can't
my
unstew
refusal.
the dog.
Yeah, my refusal of the stew isn't gonna make that dog wagging its tail up again.
You can't put the skin back on the dog,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yes, very common saying.
So I mean, I would try it if I was offered it, and it might even taste amazing if it's prepared well. So I don't know. See?
It's just a meat stew. Yeah,
Yeah.
delicious.
So then Jamie re-enters the story, and he's at Raventree Hall.
Oh, yeah, this chapter's sort of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit, because he takes that guy hostage, and he's trying to resolve the Blackwood-Bracken conflict, and he's going around trying to clean up the mess that his father Tywin made.
And
by
that was all in
invading
the
Riverlands.
that was all in the previous book, and then in this book, there's just the one chapter where Brienne shows up out of nowhere.
The structure,
crazy.
the structure of Feast and Dance it's actually wacko tobacco if you actually think about it at all. Like the way that Feast is one half of the world and then Dance is the other half, but the Feast half veers into the Dance half, so it sort of connects together just before the conclusion that still hasn't come, and it's structurally very odd.
It's very intricate and strange.
I have sworn a vow.
He told Hildy warily.
No turnips for you, then.
The girl said, saucily.
Would you eat some saucy turnips?
Of course.
A tier. So yeah, once again, food is George is equating food with sex.
As a half-moon crept up the sky, they staked their horses out in the village commons and supped on salted mutton, dry apples, and hard cheese. Jamie ate sparingly and shared a skin of wine with Peck and Hoss the hostage.
Sounds fine.
Yep.
B or C? Probably C. Salted and dried and hard. I think it's a C.
But that's what the wine's for, to counter all that dryness.
The stewards began to bring out the first dish. This is at Castle Black. An onion broth, flavoured with bits of goat and carrot.
Oh, yeah?
Not precisely royal fare, but nourishing. It tasted good enough and warmed the belly.
You know what would make that stew even better?
I wanted those elephants.
There you go.
Elephant stew.
I was looking for a time to use that, and I shoehorned it in.
Elephant and goat.
I hear they pair well together.
I've never tried. Do you think if you fattened an elephant on goat, it would taste goaty?
I have no idea.
You know what's funny? We've described hundreds of food descriptions over these 20 hours. This is one of the only times that the food description has included, it tasted good enough. Like, almost always, George Martin describes the food and lets us conclude whether it's tasty or not. This is one of the few times where he is telling us this is how good it tastes.
Yeah, George has actually told us what ranking to give this meal. It tasted good enough.
Normally, good writing is about giving someone the experience so they make up their own mind and their own reaction. But in this case, George is telling rather than just showing.
Wait, so is it tasted good enough B or C?
I think it's C. I think good enough is a C. C's get degrees.
Yeah, and B is like good.
Yeah.
Okay. With the broth came loaves of coarse brown bread, warm from the oven. That's a
Ooh.
good. It's always good when he tells us it's warm from the oven.
Yeah, that's important. That's important.
Salt and butter sat upon the tables. The sight made John gloomy. They were well provided. Everything makes John gloomy. They were well provided with salt, Bowen Marsh had told him, but the last of the butter would be gone within a moon's turn.
This is an unusually direct chapter from
Yeah.
George. Just telling us, yeah, the food's okay and John is gloomy. that is John's entire arc.
Yeah, he summed it up.
He summed it up. The coarse brown bread sounds fantastic.
I think this is still C though, because it's just salt.
Yeah,
and
it's sort of
butter.
part of the
It's
previous
same
description.
Meal, yeah. The elk was being carved.
Whoa.
It smelled better than John had any reason to expect.
That's a very odd sentence, but okay.
He dispatched a portion to Leathers out at Harden's Tower, along with 3 big platters of roast vegetables for 1-1, then ate a healthy slice himself. Three-Finger Hobbs acquitted himself well.
I think George was in a funny mood when he wrote this chapter. I feel like the writing is a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, it smelled better than John had any reason to expect. That's one.
That's kind of a car crash of a sentence.
I speak like that all the time.
Yeah. This is that's what it sounds like when we're free associating about fictional food. Three-Finger Hobbs acquitted himself well. I think that's meant to be italicized. It's like a thought.
Right.
But odd writing. Would you eat unusually good smelling elk?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That
think
does sound great.
That's at least C, potentially B.
3 big platters of roast vegetables also sound great.
Yeah, roast veggies, very, very good.
And there's also characterization here, because John smells this and he's like, wow, that smells unusually great. And the next sentence is him giving it to someone else. He's giving it to Leathers, and he's making sure that Woon has food, and then he eats for himself. So it's showing how John prioritizes other people's needs ahead of his own.
Aw.
Always self-sacrificing, which is wonderful.
Where do you rank self-sacrifice? Is this B?
Self-sacrifice is delicious. I'm going to say this is a B.
Yummy, yummy selflessness.
What's next?
Well, it's the Peace Feast at Marine. It's the Marine
Peace Feast!
Peace Feast 300 AC.
It's a Peace Feast in the East.
Did you get your shirt at the East Peace Feast?
You better believe it's an Eastern Peace Feast.
A dozen different sorts of meat and fish were served. Camel, crocodile, singing squid, lacquered ducks,
and lacquered
spiny
ducks?
grubs.
What?
With goat and ham and horse for those whose tastes were less exotic. Plus dog. No Giscari feast was complete without a course of dog.
7 hounds.
Hisnar's cooks prepared dog 4 different ways.
Giscari will eat anything that swims or flies or crawls, but for man and dragon.
Dario had warned her.
And I'd wager they eat dragon too, if given half a chance.
Meat alone does not make a meal, though, so there were fruits and grains and vegetables as well. The air was redolent with the scent... redolent with the sense of saffron, cinnamon, cloves, pepper, and other costly spices. Danny scarce touched a bite. This is peace, she told herself. This is what I wanted. What I worked for. This is why I married Hisdar. So why does it taste so much like defeat?
When the gluttony was done and all the half-eaten food had been cleared away to be given to the poor who gathered below at the queen's insistence, tall glass flutes were filled with a spiced liquor from Karth, as dark as amber.
Ooh.
A fair bargain, Hisdar said, but the taste it left in the queen's mouth was foul. She drank another cup of wine to wash it out.
All right, there's a lot going on here.
There is a huge amount going on. Camel, crocodile, singing squid, lacquered ducks, and spiny grubs.
Are we eating caterpillars?
I would try all of that.
Yeah.
Lacquered ducks. I mean, is that like a sweet based or a sweet thing that
I
they put
suppose,
over
yeah.
it?
Are we having maple duck today?
Anyone eating lacquered duck at Thanksgiving today?
What is singing squid?
I want to find out.
What are we talking about?
How, like, if a squid sings, is it audible while the squid is in water and you're not in the water? Or is it audible when you pull the squid out of the water?
Oh.
Can you hear it singing?
The squids are psychic, so they beam their song directly into your brain.
Ah.
Like, there's actually no auditory physics going on at all. There's no acoustics.
Just like the mud critters in Tough Voyaging.
Yeah, the mud pots in Guardians. Yeah.
Yeah, they are singing squids
They
because
sort of are.
they sing the Green Dream songs.
Oh my god, are they eating the mud pots? That's exactly what we shouldn't be doing.
They're eating mud pots. The sea creatures are going to come up.
They haven't read Tough. They don't know about
This
the
happens
Weirwood
in the
net.
Guardians universe. They need Dax the psychic cat to sort this out.
We need to talk about Tough, man.
Yeah, we are planning to do some chats about some of George Martin's other stories that may be of interest to y'all. So make sure you like and subscribe.
Make sure you
Like and subscribe to Glidus and Alt Swift X.
I've been a lichen fiend recently.
Have you been fiending for lichen?
It's true. I stop to point out lichen like everywhere. It's become a problem, honestly.
Oh my gosh. Have you been cultivating lichen yourself, or merely
Not yet. I've just been observing it in the wild.
observing from afar?
A
okay.
distant admirer of lichen.
Yeah, a distant liker of lichen.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to whatever lichen video essays you produce.
Thank you. How do we feel about the Marine Peace Feast?
I absolutely am into it. There's so much going on, and all the spices and the scents. I mean, they've got the dog in there, which is a downer, but like everything else sounds incredible. I don't know if I would like camel and crocodile and singing squid,
But
I'm
my
sure
god,
you
am I
can-
interested to try it.
Yeah, I'll give it a red hot go.
Have you not tried crocodile? You can get it.
Yeah, no, I have tried crocodile, but it just tastes like chicken.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, I think this is an... Is this an A? I think it's an A.
It's an A at least.
Yeah, I think it's an A.
The,
And,
the spiced liquor from Karth sounds very interesting. Dark as amber. Is this like a...
I never know if it's liquor or liqueur. I
Oh
never
yeah,
know.
it's a liqueur, sorry.
Spiced liqueur. Yeah, no, it sounds great. It's probably psychedelic because it's from Karth.
Oh yeah, true.
Like, there's probably some, like, warlock seed or something, but, you know, whatever floats your boat.
Maybe that's why Daenerys didn't like it.
Well, she disliked the taste of Hisdar's nonsense, but it seems like she does like the wine. I think. So yeah, I feel like it's an A.
We've hit Theon 1. So it's interesting how there aren't there like 3 Theon chapters before this, and then this is the first Theon chapter?
Yeah, he's the Prince of Winterfell. He's the ghost in Winterfell. He's undergoing this constant identity transformation, and now he's finally become Theon.
That's right. He's Reek first.
Yeah.
Aren't there 1 or 2 Reek chapters? Then the Prince of Winterfell, then the Ghost in Winterfell, and then Theon. He's self-actualized.
And he's finally asserting himself, and this is when he escapes from Winterfell with the wildlings and
Beautiful
Jane Poole.
moment when you turn the page and it just says Theon. He knows who he is now.
It's
awesome.
amazing. It also, of course, adds to the complexity of the structure of the different chapters and orienting yourself in this crazy book series.
Like, do we actually gain anything from the Ario chapters, not just saying Ario?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But The Watcher is a pretty sick title for a chapter.
Pretty cool.
Man, you know what's going to be absolutely thrilling is if The Winds of Winter comes out, just seeing the titles of the chapters.
Yeah.
Like, if you get it on an ebook, this is... I have beef with Amazon. I have Bezos
You know,
beef.
Bezos beef?
Over this, because there was a time when there was an attempt to get the chapters in the Amazon Kindle ASOIAF ebooks to be changed so that they actually say the title of the chapter as opposed to just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4,
did they
chapter
not
5,
do that?
Last time I checked, Kindle just says chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, specifically in the table of contents feature. Like if you actually are reading the chapter,
the book, it has the actual title.
Yeah, like in the book,
Okay.
it does say the proper title at the start of each chapter. But if you're looking in the table of contents feature, at least in the audiobooks, I'm sure it varies on your edition. But my point is that it would be really cool one day to get the Winds of Winter ebook and to open the table of contents and see the titles of all of the chapters and seeing like what names are they, like, you know, is Jon Snow gonna have a ghost chapter? Is he gonna have an Azor Ahai chapter?
I actually really don't want to see the table of contents before reading the book.
Oh yeah,
I want to discover them as I go through the book.
It is kind of spoilers. I don't know if
Yeah.
I could help myself though. Peeking at the chapter titles.
Yeah, I want to see how many chapters Rickon has. Is it 7 or 12?
Yeah, because I mean that's one of the other mysteries is like who is going to be a POV character and who isn't.
It's 70 Melisandre chapters and nothing else.
George has said that he won't introduce more POV characters.
George also said The Winds of Winter would be out in 2016.
Yeah, so exactly. Who knows what's going to happen? And he's going to have to make drastic cuts. So all I'm saying is that those chapter titles, incredibly revealing about the story.
Yeah. Anyway, Theon sat in the back of the Great Hall, not far from the horses, watching Abel, Rowan, and a mousy brown-haired washerwoman called Squirrel attack slabs of stale brown bread fried in bacon grease.
And they're attacking it because they are the murderers in Winterfell who killed some of those Bolton men.
And Squirrel is another animal.
Yeah.
You know,
Animals
you see?
eating animals, yeah.
Theon broke his own fast on a tankard of dark ale, cloudy with yeast and thick enough to chew on. A few more tankards, and perhaps Ale's plan might not seem quite so mad.
So Abel is Mance Rayder in disguise. God, I love the Winterfell plot.
It's so fun.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty mental.
Pretty mental.
Farther down the table, Wyman Manderley sat wolfing down sausages and boiled eggs, whilst old Lord Locke beside him spooned gruel into his toothless mouth.
So much characterization.
He was wolfing down sausages.
He did hear Wyman Manderley calling for more sausages. And... How did you do that? And Roger Riswell's laughter at some jape from one-armed Harwood Stout. This is a whole live Foley audiobook experience.
Thank you.
The Lord of White Harbour bit a sausage in half. I confess. He wiped the grease from his lips with his sleeve.
I confess that I know little of this poor boy. Lord Ramsay's squire, was he not? How old was the lad?
9 on his last name day,
So young.
said Wyman Manderley.
Though perhaps this was a blessing. Had he lived, he would have grown up to be a Frey.
Old Lord Locke was shouting for a maester as Manderley flopped on the floor like a clubbed walrus in a spreading pool of blood because the Freys attack him for talking shit. Around him, dogs fought over sausages.
Clubbed walrus. That's crazy. And he was holding so many sausages that dogs have congregated around him.
It's like a cartoon.
It really is.
Clubbed walrus in fine clothes flopping around with sausages flying through the air like that Lindsay Ellis gif. Incredible. Incredible.
I love that. That's the thing she's most well known for.
It's a legacy. I would eat the hell out of this. Bacon grease, stale brown bread,
Gruel,
dark ale thick enough to chew on,
endless sausages.
sausages flying. Okay, well maybe it's not the best.
I don't think it's that good.
I think it's a C.
I think the clubbed walrus says your mouth watering more than anything
Yeah,
else.
I think I'm just enthusiastic about the writing.
Yeah, it's such a great passage.
I think the food is C, but
yeah.
yeah, I love how like every time Wyman speaks, he's got like at least 3 different animals chewing on the go.
Yeah, I think the food here is a C, but honestly, just the passage itself elevates it to a B. Like,
Yeah.
it just makes me want it more.
Let's just call it a B because it's great.
B for walrus.
Yeah, the mayhaps thing is part of it, isn't it? Because like when you say mayhaps in the Lord of the Crossing game,
Yeah, if you sneak it past your opponent, you become Lord of the Crossing.
yeah, and it's like a betrayal thing.
Although,
and-
of course, that game always boils down to shoving, pushing and shoving, a show of physical force.
it
right?
always devolves into dogs fighting
Yeah,
for meat.
and that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, all of the aristocratic rules and conventions and laws are nothing once people are just eating each other
And-
to survive.
Isn't the wonderful thing about that? Doesn't the Lord of the Crossing game, the Mayhaps game, come from A Clash of Kings? From
Yeah.
3 books earlier? From
Yeah.
13 years before A Dance with Dragons came out? How crazy is it that George wove it into this scene?
It's amazing.
The guy's insane.
He's an absolute mad lad. Winterfell's cavernous kitchen occupied a building all its own, set well apart from the castle's main halls and keeps in case of fire. Inside, the smells changed hour by hour, an ever-changing perfume of roast meats, leeks and onions, fresh baked bread.
Oh dear.
Roose Bolton had posted guards at the kitchen door. With so many mouths to feed, every scrap of food was precious. So that's why hackles are raising and people are snapping at each other and clubbing each other like walruses because there's a lot of people and food is running out.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm just some average dude in Winterfell, I'm annoyed that Wyman Manderley is wolfing down an endless supply of sausages every day.
Yeah, I think Wyman's getting it while he can.
Yeah.
The perfume of roast meats, leeks, and onions and fresh baked bread.
I mean, that sounds just incredible.
That's an A.
Yeah.
I mean, this food is good enough it needs guards. That's an A. Then we're back in Marine. Man, the whiplash.
Yeah, this book...
We're like Carmen San Diego. We are just zip-zapping
Yeah,
across
you're
the
gonna have to
globe.
solve all sorts of puzzles, exercising your skills in linguistics and mathematics to unlock our location.
Around them, peddlers were selling dog sausages, roast onions, and unborn puppies on a stick.
Okay.
But Danny had no need of such. Hisdar had
I don't need that, thank you.
Hisdar had stocked their box with flagons of chilled wine and sweet water, with figs, dates, melons, and pomegranates, with pecans and peppers, and a big bowl of honeyed locusts. Strong Belwas bellowed
Locusts!
as he seized the bowl and began to crunch them by the handful. Those are very tasty, advised Hisdar. You ought to try a few yourself, my love. They are rolled in spice before the honey, so they are sweet and hot at once. I want that on our soundboard. Just Glidus hollering. Locusts. That's great.
What a wonderful scene.
There's a lot going on there, because these are, of course, the poisoned honeyed locusts.
Yes.
That almost kill Belwas and almost kill Daenerys. And there's it's still an unsolved mystery who poisoned the locusts. I think common answers are like Reznak or Scarhaz or something.
Some people think Hisdar himself.
Yeah, one of the Hazus. So yeah, there's a sort of a lot going on here. What with the unborn puppies on a stick.
Yeah, not like I can tolerate dog sausage. I don't know about the unborn puppies on a stick. Like that's not really analogous to other. I mean, we eat eggs, but they're typically unfertilized.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna attempt to evaluate the morality of it. I'm just gonna say that
Sounds icky, and you don't want to eat it.
I don't
Yeah.
want a fetus on a stick.
Yeah.
I don't want a fetus kebab. Thanks. Thanks, but no thanks.
But it comes with garlic sauce and
I'm gonna need the 3-sauce classic on that
yeah,
one.
the holy trinity on your unborn puppy stick.
I mean, all the figs and dates and melons
Oh,
and
that's,
poms.
yeah, see,
and-
the rest of the stuff here is just wonderful.
Well, how do you feel about the honeyed locusts? Like, if you didn't know they were poisoned, would you try the honeyed locusts rolled in spice and honey?
Honestly, Hisdar makes them sound quite appetizing.
Yeah, he does.
And I don't have like this aversion to eating the bugs. I don't really care. I would do it.
I haven't eaten a lot of bugs, but I'm sure it's all in how you prepare it.
Yeah.
I would have a go. I would have a Daenerys-y nibble of the bugs just to try it. And yeah, all the figs and dates and stuff. So yeah, I mean, despite the fetus kebab, the rest of it's an A.
Just eat around the fetus.
Yeah, eat around the fetus and give it an A. Is this going to get us demonetized?
Hopefully. If the world is good, yes.
So then we cut to Cersei. Cersei's back in this book.
There's a Cersei chapter in this book too.
So in the previous book, A Feast for Crows, Cersei systematically undermined herself and turned all of her friends into enemies.
It's the funniest shit.
It's the biggest, like, own goal car crash of a political career that you've ever seen. And it's hilarious. Unfortunately, the TV show tried to portray Cersei as like a genuinely competent, capable villain. But what's great about her feast arc is that she's just such a mess, so destroyed by her own delusions and dysfunctional relationships and spite and failure to empathize. She is better than an evil, nasty villain. She is her own worst enemy, and it makes it so powerful and fun and funny.
And then you follow Tyrion in the next book basically doing the same stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Tyrion and
he's also his
Cersei's
own worst
arcs
enemy.
are actually really very, very similar. They are both self-destructing. And it's funny because they're self-destructing over their hatred of each other.
And then you see Jaime throughout this book, who's like almost trying to rise above that stuff, but he's also sort of his own worst enemy.
Isn't it funny that when Jaime becomes the sort of constructive person, Tyrion and Cersei are more alike. The twins are less alike, and Cersei and Tyrion are more alike. Maybe that's going to be part of how Tyrion pulls out of the abyss, as he looks at Cersei and realizes, oh, hang on, I'm behaving like Cersei.
I'm Cersei Ritzmol now.
Oh, no.
Or maybe we're both Tywin Ritzmol.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be
Because, of
great
course,
if they could-
Tywin was self-destructive and his own worst enemy.
Wouldn't it be so perfect if they could reconcile? Wouldn't it be so perfect if they just got together and said, you know what, let's not be our terrible dad. Let's be better.
Yeah, good luck. But when the time came for supper, instead of stale bread and oaten porridge, she was served a roast capon, a bowl of crisp greens sprinkled with crushed walnuts, and a mound of mashed neeps a-swim in butter.
A swim?
A swim.
Cersei is a swim? In butter?
This changes everything.
So I think they're doing like a good cop, bad cop thing. Because right now Cersei has politicked her way into the dungeons of the Faith of the Seven.
How could Tyrion do this to me?
Yeah.
I can't believe the Tyrells would do this.
So the food sounds great. Crisp greens, crushed walnuts, mashed neeps, a swim in butter.
That sounds pretty
That's
good.
an A. That might even be an S.
And a roast little bird, one of them little birds.
I mean,
we need one of them little birds
Oh,
for the
we do need
soundboard.
that,
Oh,
we do
Finn
need
House of the
that.
Dragon.
S? You reckon it's S? I reckon it's S.
I'm happy with it. Like, I'm just here. If you hadn't noticed, I'm just here for the fun of it.
I thought we had to do this.
I have
for
long
contractual
exhausted my
reasons.
capacity for the academic integrity of this program.
So then we're back in Marine with Barristan. I feel like Barristan Selmy is one of the weaker story arcs.
Yeah,
in A Dance with
Barristan,
Dragons.
it sort of felt like, oh, I need another POV in Marine.
Yeah, and he doesn't really do much. Like, it's sort of about this like old knight trying to do politics and realizing that he's not very good at it, and getting ready to ride into battle in winds. And it's like, okay, whatever. He does have that cool fight with that pit fighter, but whatever. At the feast that night, he had eaten ribs of wild boar, prepared the Dornish way with dragon peppers so hot they burned his mouth. 47 years, and the taste still lingered in his memory. Oh, George. Yet he could not have said what he had supped on 10 days ago if all 7 kingdoms had depended on it. Boiled dog, most like, or some other foul dish that tasted no better. So yeah, sorry. So Barristan is in Marine, and he's remembering a feast at King's Landing. And I don't remember what happened, what the context of that feast is. Is it
47 years.
something about a Shara or being knighted, or some good thing happened to Barristan, and that's why he remembers this boar so well.
Wild boar has come up before, and we didn't know if it was going to be better than like just standard pork. The comments informed me that it's way better.
Yeah.
So just have that context.
I wonder why it's better.
Probably a more varied and rich diet. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a classic.
Maybe it gets more enrichment.
It's more intellectually
Yeah, stimulated.
stimulated.
Yeah, the boar brain tastes better
Yum yum. This boar has some good knowledge and
When it-
memories.
when it does its brain exercises on its Nintendo DS.
Yeah, man. This baby boar listened to baby Mozart music to make it smart.
Pig Mozart.
Hell yeah, pig
Yeah.
Mozart.
Or
What would that sound
Salieri.
like? Just squealing.
Yeah.
I like this because it's George Martin classic writing, connecting food
Absolutely.
with memory and food with longing and food with love and food with songs. It's all interconnected in his head.
Boiled dog, most like.
Boiled dog.
And yeah, and then he squares it away with some like, Barrison just doesn't like the culture he's in at the moment.
Yeah.
He's found himself in a strange world, and the only world he understands is battle, and that's what he's eager to go and do this whole story.
He's a long way from home. He's homesick, and he's also just old, you
Yeah.
know. And I think there comes a point in his life when there's more good things behind him than good things ahead of him, and so he spends more time in memory.
Well, what do you think of his memory of wild boar with dragon peppers?
Honestly, I feel like I would enjoy boar more if it wasn't full of burning hot dragon peppers. Like, I'd try a bit of dragon peppers, but I think I'd just like the boar without too much pepper.
Yeah, I like it with some dragon peppers for sure, but not like burning my mouth, please.
For me, it's a B.
For me, it's an A, but
Sure.
I'm happy for your opinion to be the one we put up on the internet. That's fine.
The art of compromise, Glidus.
When one person gets their way.
And I will be the one to go to
My
be
God.
the compromise.
There are Victorian chapters in this book too. This thing's all over the place.
Yeah, the number of characters in this book is insane. It's not the easiest book to follow what's going on sometimes.
But the larders of the Iron Fleet were filling up with smoked hams, salted pork, and bacon.
My goodness. Because Victarion and his fleet just stopped at the Isle of Cedars and picked up a whole bunch of pigs. Because Victarion is sailing east to marry Daenerys. He's one of several characters who travels to Meereen to marry Daenerys without Daenerys being aware that they exist.
Can't wait to see Aurane Waters sail east to marry Daenerys.
Hell yeah. One of them's going to work eventually.
Never mind that she's already married.
Someone in the live chat, Pie Guy, says, "Hey Glidus, do you think that dogs enjoy listening to the music of bark?"
Which bark? Because there are quite a few barks, and some of them, aren't as palatable to dogs. Some of them are like a wimpy bark.
I think. Are you making a
C-
tree bark pun
CPE
right now?
bark was a bit wimpy.
Are we doing homonyms
Like a
again?
cinnamon bark.
I can't handle any homonyms right now.
Fair enough.
I think that it's too much pig.
Yeah, I don't think Daenerys is going to be impressed by all that pork.
Too much pig. For me, it's a C or
Yeah,
a D.
C, because it's still pork, right?
Like, I'm not even
I'll eat
eating
it.
this, and I'm already sick of all of the pig. So then, Tyrion Lannister is a slave near Meereen, and he is murdering Nurse, who is one of his captors. And Nurse has the flux disease, the dysentery type thing that's killing everyone around Meereen. So Tyrion pretends to care for his enslaver, but actually feeds him poisoned mushrooms. So watered wine and lemon sweet and some nice hot dogtail soup with slivers of mushroom in the broth. Drink it down, Nursey. That shit water squirting from your arse needs to be replaced. Thanks, George. There's proportionally a lot of food descriptions in George Martin's works. There's also quite a lot of diarrhea material
Yeah,
in his
poop
works.
descriptions. That's the next thing we need to rank.
Oh boy. I don't like anything that's happening in this sentence. I don't enjoy it.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. Yeah, no.
F,
Uh
E,
yeah, I think it's lethal.
it's lethal.
It's got poison mushrooms.
This is
in
an
it.
F tier meal. It kills you.
It's dog tail soup.
And it doesn't kill you in the way that like that poison eclair in The Simpsons kills you. It kills you in this is like lethal mushrooms in a dog soup.
Yeah, no, Nurse is having a bad day and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
The wine is watered. What is lemon sweet? What does that mean? Is that a separate beverage
I believe
containing lemon?
That's lemonade.
It's lemonade.
Tyrion has made lemonade.
Imagine killing someone and making lemonade for them.
What a day.
When life gives you lemon,
Make lemon sweet.
make dogtail soup. Yeah, no, that's rank. I hate it. I mean, obviously, just the description of the diarrhea happening adjacent to the food. And yeah, I mean, and this is not a society that has developed germ theory. Just nothing's good about this situation.
Yeah.
So they deliver some food to someone, and it's meant to go to someone else, but it's actually going to be eaten by Scar and his friends. Tyrion reckons that the guards are going to take the nice food. I don't remember the exact context here, but Tyrion is cynically thinking that the guard, Scar, is going to take the nice food they're delivering. So soon they'll be feasting on ham and bacon and a savory dog stew. That's like a D. There's too much pig. What's with all the pig? What's with all the pig? What's with all the dog? I don't like it. I don't like. Stop eating the pigs and the dogs.
Yeah, you guys ever heard of chicken?
There's other animals. There's even vegetables.
Actually, have we had capons in Marine?
I don't.
Or I don't know.
No, we have no. Yeah, well, at the peace feast, I think there were some capons, weren't there? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't like it.
Yeah, too much pig, too much dog.
D.
Did you call me pig, dog?
And then Jon Snow in Castle Black broke his fast in the cellar with his officers. Fried bread, fried eggs, blood sausages, and barley porridge made up the meal, washed down with thin yellow beer.
Sounds fine.
I'm not really interested in thin yellow beer. If I'm going to drink beer, I want it to be, like, nice. And thin yellow beer... I mean, I know that there can be, like, nice, sort of, like, light... I forget the terms, but thin yellow beer, I could be a good thing, but the way it's described, I don't think that sounds like a good beer.
Light beer, fresh from the microwave.
What? Yeah, I'm not super into this. The fried bread, the fried eggs, the blood sausages.
That's fine to me.
Not
like a complete thing. Like, a piece of fruit wouldn't go amiss.
All right, what do you reckon?
But good luck finding that in the winter at Castle Black. Look, C.
All right. So then the spurned suitor, Quentin Martell, has offered to marry Daenerys after his long and dangerous quest to win the beautiful princess, and didn't work.
Did not go well.
So Quentin is talking to a mercenary company called the Windblown, trying to win their loyalty, and I forget who is saying this line, but someone says, "I'll wager you get your meeting too, if only so Rags can have pretty Merys cut your liver out and fry it up with onions." So Rags is the tattered prince, and Pretty Merys is one of his sellswords, who I think some clever people have speculated kind of is Brienne from a prior draft of this book. There's all these weird theories about some of the characters in the storylines have weird resemblances to other characters. And when George was doing the 5-year gap, the idea is that, like, Brienne, I think Jaime as well, may have gone somewhere else and gone in these different directions. But then George changed his mind and took away the 5-year gap. And so these future Brienne and Jaime actually became a different character. It's all very speculative, and I barely remember the details. But since Pretty Merys, I think Pretty Merys has, like, scars all over her face, just like Brienne has scars on her face from Biter eating her face. It's a whole thing.
But she's going to cut your liver out and fry it up with onions. Which,
would
of
you
course,
eat human liver fried with onions?
Well, Belwas would, and I follow Belwas. I believe in Belwas, so yes.
What would Belwas do?
He would eat the liver and onions.
I think it's a B for Belwas.
B for Belwas.
Zarina offers food as well. Her bread is stale, and her stew is unspeakable. Grease and salt with a morsel or two of meat. Dog, she says, but I think rat is more likely. It will not kill you, though. I have found that it is only when the food is tempting that one must beware. Poisoners invariably choose the choicest dishes.
That's very funny, because we just saw Tyrion kill someone with dog tail soup.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's also something throughout these food descriptions is that its sweetness is sometimes
it's Illyria.
disguising poison, and sometimes you have to be skeptical of sweetness. So yeah, I think that lines up with that.
But you also have to be skeptical of savory foods as well, because
I'm always
sometimes...
skeptical of savory foods.
Thank you. Sometimes they'll have your dead grandchildren in them.
Yeah, no, that is a risk that you got to take with a meat pie sometimes. I think this is an E, or maybe an F. E or F? Rat stew.
Unspeakable.
Unspeakable rat stew.
I'm
Oh,
giving
yeah,
it an
maybe.
E.
Yeah.
Like, only because it's specified that it's not lethal.
And it's also not human, which puts
Yeah.
it a cut above some of the other things.
Another fellow told me... Go back up, I need to read it. Another fellow told me our food was so wretched that he had to flee before it made him sick, so I had his foot cut off, roasted it up, and fed it to him. Then I made him our camp cook. Our meals improved markedly, and when his contract was fulfilled, he signed another.
The tattered prince, everybody. What a guy.
What a fun guy.
What a great ally for
Yeah.
Daenerys. What a stand-up moral citizen. What can possibly go wrong when Daenerys rampages across the continent of Essos with Victarion Greyjoy, Macquarie the Zealot, Tyrion the Murderer, tattered prince? Like, some of the worst lunatics in the world are flocking to Daenerys.
They
and
make
it's
Dario
gonna go
Naharis
bad.
look downright hinged.
So when like Game of Thrones TV show Daenerys just suddenly decides to turn evil on a whim of her own, it's going to make so much more sense in the books because there's actually a political network of alliances and stakeholders that she needs to win over
Like
and needs to keep on her side.
A genuine cabal of demons on her shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a deal with the devil type situation. It's almost like this is a political story and that there are political consequences to the alliances you make and the circumstances you find yourself in. God, it's so much better than what we saw in the TV show, and it hasn't even been published yet.
Yeah. My fanfic is so much better, my god.
Yeah.
But, like, the fanfic is logically informed by the story. It's not like we're just inventing it.
Yeah, but imagined fanfic is one thing.
What do you think about this guy's foot?
I do not want to eat this guy's foot.
I think it's F for foot.
Yeah. I mean, the foot has to be one of the more, like, disgusting things to eat, right? Like, there's not a lot of meat on a foot. It's mostly, like, gristle and,
Yeah.
and sinew and
And, like,
tendons, isn't it?
It's the part of people that touches the ground most, which just,
Yeah.
like, even though you've cooked it, and I know that like, that means it won't matter, but it just feels worse.
There's all those calluses. There's all those
Yeah.
toenails. There's nothing good going on with a human
Yeah,
foot.
I'd much rather eat the human ulna.
Yeah. It's an F for foot. What is the ulna?
It's a bone, so what am I doing?
Ulna soup. So then, just to keep you on your toes, there's another point of view character.
Whoa.
This is John Connington, not in the TV show. John Connington
Jonathan
is
Connington.
is a sad ginger gay, relatable. And John Conn is taking Griffin's Roost, which is his family home. He's returning from the East and from the Golden Company and is invading Westeros with young Griff because he's in love with young Griff's ostensible father, Rhaegar. So he's not just gay and ginger, but he's also delusional. Also dying, terminally ill with grayscale.
He's got a lot going on, and so that's why Game of Thrones like transported the grayscale plot to Jorah Mormont, and then just ended it for like out of nowhere in season 7.
Yeah, they sat down and they're like, who is sad and ginger in this story? Who we can give this plot line?
Like Jorah Mormont's the closest they got.
Yeah, I guess Jorah. I guess.
What
But
if they gave it to Sansa? She's sad and ginger. She's more
and maybe
Auburn.
gay.
Yeah, potentially gay.
So yeah, another victim of D&D's chopping block. But he successfully takes Griffin's Roost, which is a fairly minor castle who no one particularly cares about in the Stormlands, isn't it?
Yes.
That night in the Great Hall, the victors feasted on roast meats and fresh-caught fish, washed down with rich red wines from the castle cellars. That sounds like a pretty good feast.
Sounds pretty good. Like,
Fresh-caught fish, rich red wines. Yeah.
yeah. Like if I've just had to travel between continents and I've put up all this effort, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and like they've just spent all this time on ships
Yeah,
crossing the
exactly.
narrow sea, so yeah, that would taste great. And it's victory. He's taking back his home, It's
Hell
great.
yeah. He woke at dawn to the sound of falling rain and the timid knock of a serving man anxious to learn how his new lord would break his fast.
Boiled eggs, fried bread, and beans.
Beans.
And a jug of wine. The worst wine in the cellar.
The worst, my lord.
You heard me.
When the food and wine had been brought up, he barred the door, emptied the jug into a bowl, and soaked his hand in it.
Because he's got this grayscale disease working its way up his hand, and he wants to slow the progression of the disease, and he thinks or hopes that soaking it in wine might slow it.
And why waste good wine on that? What do you think of boiled eggs, fried bread, and beans?
It's alright. I think that's alright. Fried bread, beans, eggs, sure.
Yeah.
It's alright. B? I reckon it's a B. Boiled bread, beans, B.
He's eating beans on toast for breakfast.
What do you think of
Good for
what do you think of a soup of the worst wine with a
Mm-hmm.
diseased infected finger soaked in it?
But that's what I had last night.
Really?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was fucking horrible.
Oh no. Well, I guess that's an F, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Asher Greyjoy is a captive of Stannis Baratheon at the Crofters village that they're encamped at, and things are really grim because they're stuck in this winter storm and they're running out of food, and they have not yet attacked Winterfell.
And there was no food beyond their failing horses, fish taken from the lakes, fewer every day, and whatever meager sustenance their foragers could find in these cold, dead woods. With the king's knights and lords claiming the lion's share of the horse meat, little and less remained for the common men. Small wonder then that they had started eating their own dead.
I laughed when your fucking cousin died, Godry. We should have eaten him too. He smelled so good when they roasted him. I bet the boy was nice and tender, juicy. The cock's the choicest part, all crisped up on the spit, a fat little sausage.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
Maybe cannibalism's bad. I think that's the arc that I've undergone over these live streams.
Yeah,
is-
I've radicalized you into the position that cannibalism is not cool.
Yeah, you have, because I started out as a sort of cannibalism agnostic. I think I sort of enjoyed sort of being edgy and acting like cannibalism, but like, I think this might have done it. Like, I think this broke me. I think now I might have gone full circle. I've gone full horseshoe
Yeah, I
theory.
think it's like now that you've
cannibalism is not good, actually.
I think it's because you've seen now who your position allied you with.
Yeah, that is one of those things where like,
I
if
laughed when your fucking cousin died.
God, like that's who you were on the same side as.
if you want to die on a hill, look at who your company is
Yeah.
on that hill. Who are you sharing
well,
the
I
hill
don't know.
with?
Jesus was crucified on the same hill as two thieves, so
What were they stealing? I bet it wasn't roast cock.
I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe it was.
Yeah, remember. How old are you? Were you one of the thieves? Shh. Oh my god. I always wonder what the stigmata on your hands was about. Imagine those thieves, once they're like resurrected in heaven, they must have been mistaken for Jesus all the time.
I don't know. Maybe the residents of. Well, hang on. Were people going to heaven? You know what? We'll leave it to the ecclesiast.
Is there Facebook in heaven?
Surely not. That would no longer be heaven.
I know there's no Zuckerberg in heaven.
Because he's still here, and he always will be.
He will never die.
What do you think of Godfrey's cousin's cock?
Yeah, no.
I don't want it.
No,
That's an F tier from me, everyone.
That's an F.
Oh.
And then there's supper for Asher and I think for the Mormont. Alice Mormont? Alicane Mormont, Asher, Alicane. Supper for the both of them. Ale and chunks of horse meat, charred black outside and red within. Asher took a sip of ale and fed upon the horse flesh. The portion was smaller than the last she'd tasted, but her belly still rumbled at the smell of it.
My thanks, sir.
She said, as blood and grease ran down her chin.
Ugh.
I'm actually surprised there hasn't been as much grease running down chins as I think we
Yeah.
expected when we
Yeah.
started this ordeal.
Well, Greece was definitely, Greece stocks were high in A Storm of Swords,
Yeah,
but they've gone down since then.
I get. Well, yeah, it's not, George's enthusiasm for Greece has not diminished. However, the supply of available
Yeah.
grease has reduced, which has only increased the value of said grease.
What do you think about charred black horse meat, but that's red on the inside?
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
And
That's not how you cook a horse steak.
But of course, the fact that Ash is enthusiastic about it shows how starving she is on
Yeah.
this death march.
How dire the circumstances are, and how worse it is for the people below her and standing. even though
However,
she's a
it's
hostage.
not human reproductive organs, so I guess it's an E.
Yep.
That's where the bar is, guys. We were threatening this all through this 20-hour series. We were saying it's gonna get grim. It's gonna get dark. We're here. Welcome to Dance with Dragons Population Schweitus.
But then the beautiful thing is, we gave an S rank to Bran eating his best friend.
We did do that. It was a great food description.
It really was. It made me reminisce about all the lovely things in my life when I ate my best friend back in primary school.
Again? You said you kicked the habit. So primary school would have been about
3,000 years ago.
Yes, right. Carl Kostnak in the live chat says that the burnt meat, red and black, would visually be the Targaryen
Yeah.
colors.
That's true.
So do you think that horse was a Targaryen? Did
No.
they just eat Aerion Targaryen?
Who walked into a horse when he died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why he's charred on the outside, because he drank wildfire. No, he would be cooked on the inside.
It would be reversed.
He wouldn't be red, yeah.
It would be Blackfire colors.
Yeah. This is John the Fiddler in horse form.
So then Cersei Lannister is taken on her walk of shame to punish her adultery and lies and treason and murder and such. A man just ahead was selling skewers of roast meat from a cart, and the procession halted as the poor fellows moved him out of the way. The meat looked suspiciously like rat to Cersei's eyes, but the smell of it filled the air, and half the men around them were gnawing away with sticks in hand by the time the street was clear enough for her to resume her trek.
You want some, your grace?
One man called out. He was a big, burly brute with pig eyes, a massive gut, and an unkempt black beard that reminded her of Robert. When she looked away in disgust, he flung the skewer at her.
Yeah.
It struck her on the leg and tumbled to the street, and the half-cooked meat left a smear of grease and blood down her thigh.
Cool.
Ew.
Rat skewer.
I love the entrepreneurial spirit of this rat merchant who deliberately blocks the Queen's punishment procession in order to sell rat kebabs and makes a goddamn killing from all the people who buy from it.
Yeah, I think this is one hell of a publicity stunt. Yeah.
I want to invest in this small business. That's the American spirit right there. I give thanksgiving for this entrepreneurial spirit of this rat seller.
This is the stuff, Lionel.
This is the stuff, Lionel. Fantastic. However, I don't love the half-cooked meat smearing grease and blood down Cersei's naked thigh.
Probably rat meat.
Yeah, no, that's less good.
To me, this is E.
This is E, yeah.
I don't want it.
So then, Tyrion in Meereen. I miss the food too.
Cam said wistfully.
Your mother's cooking. Rats wouldn't eat my mother's cooking. There was this pot shop, though. No one ever made a bowl of brown like them. So thick you could stand your spoon up in the bowl with chunks of this and that. You ever have yourself a bowl of brown, half-man?
A time or two. Singer's stew, I call it.
Why's that?
It tastes so good it makes me want to sing.
So the real reason why he calls it Singer's Stew is that in the books, Tyrion murdered a guy called Simeon Silvertongue just because he was... Well, no, he did a bit of blackmail, but he was...
He was a dick.
He was a dick, but yeah, Tyrion murdered him and had him thrown into a pot of stew in Flea Bottom, so he was probably eaten.
Normal stuff.
And that's before Tyrion goes into his real evil arc in Book 5.
Yeah, that's in Tyrion's whimsy arc.
Everyone's favourite, morally uncomplicated hero, Tyrion Lannister. Peter Dinklage, everyone's favourite beloved hero.
Oh, but he's so handsome, he has to be a good guy.
So, how do you feel about a bowl of brown so thick you can stand your spoon up in the bowl, which may or may not contain human minstrel's meat?
Brennan Lee Mulligan has gone on the record saying that the thing that matters to him most in food is weight. If it is heavy food, he's into it. So this makes me feel that this is a heavy bowl of brown.
So we're talking about density here.
Yeah. However, it's still got chunks of this and that. And I've never found... Yeah, there's some stuff in there to be quite an appetizing description of food.
I would eat some of this, but I don't want to eat that.
Yeah, I've had that before and I'm not into it.
The bowl of brown is so storied though that I can't not
Yeah.
be curious. Like I would like to taste it, but I know that I don't have the constitution for...
You don't want to subsist off it.
No. I don't know if I would eat the bowl of brown or the bowl of brown would eat me, you know? Like when you stare into the bowl of brown, it stares back because like half of it's eyeballs.
And of course, you are what you eat, and you'll become 1,000 eyes in one. Maybe because there's humans in the bowl of brown, the people of Flea Bottom are having their psychic potential awoken.
Absolutely. It's basically Jojen paste.
Yeah.
This is like psychoactive human sacrifice, witch's brew, psychic potion for sure.
Huh.
New theory.
Cool. S tier.
Hell yeah. So then back in Marine,
Hey, we should probably
Barristan-
give that one an actual ranking.
I think it's a E.
E.
Yeah. So in Marine, Barristan says, they eat snakes.
Said Sir Barristan.
It was your pit, your box, your seats, sweet wine and soft cushions, figs and melons and honeyed locusts. You provided all. You urged her grace to try the locusts, but never tasted one yourself. Hot spices do not agree with me. She was my wife, my queen. Why would I poison her? So Barristan's accusing Hisdar of poisoning the honeyed locusts that almost killed Daenerys, and more importantly, almost killed Strong Belwas.
That is more important, yes.
Cushions, figs, melons, honeyed locusts. I guess they're not eating the cushions, but they might be.
I mean, give it a go.
I think this is a B. I mean, we know at this point that it's poisoned, which has got to take down the ranking a little bit.
I mean, and they're poisoned to kill, so they're lethal, so that's an F.
As opposed to poisoned to bother,
Well, sometimes
Tyrion does to Cersei.
Yeah.
Yeah, in book 2.
Just a little poisoning to show her who's boss.
Yeah, just a little love tap of a poison. I think it's a B.
B, knowing that the locusts are poisoned.
Okay, you've whittled me down. It's a C.
It's a C, okay. Back with Quentin, who's going to tame a dragon in this chapter.
What could go wrong? This is his last meal.
The three Dornishmen broke their fast in the pre-dawn chill, a simple meal of fruit and bread and cheese washed down with goat milk. When Garrus made to pour himself a cup of wine, Quentin stopped him.
Quentin is being sensible here. He's
Yes.
being brave,
Milk and
got
wine
a
do
plan.
not pair.
and it backfires because spoiler: Quentin does not claim a dragon successfully. I think this breakfast sounds good.
It sounds pretty... It's a lot, like, healthier than all
Yeah.
the stuff John's been eating.
I like that. There's actually fruit going on here, which is good.
Not enough fruit in this book. Although I was perplexed by the melon that Missandei served Daenerys.
Yeah, maybe the melon will return at a later date and
Yeah.
save Daenerys or something.
It's the key to everything.
I feel like this is a B. Like it's a bit nondescript, but I
Yeah, like,
enjoy what's going on here.
What fruit are we talking here? Is it a pumpkin or an apple?
How do you rank the burned corpse of Quentin at the end of this chapter?
Delicious.
Well,
honestly.
technically he's not a corpse yet in this chapter, but he's getting there. He's pretty
Yeah.
well done.
He sounds delicious. Yeah,
I don't know if he's even red on the inside at this point. He's just all cooked.
like Arion bright flame.
Oh, you ready for this?
Yeah. Let's do it. One morning, it's Daenerys in the Dothraki Sea. Maybe I'm not ready for this. I'm gonna have some water before we read this.
Gird your loins, everybody. Hoist your petards. Buckle your seatbelts. We're sailing the Dothraki Sea today.
Okay. One morning, she had found some wild onions growing halfway down the south slope, and later that same day, a leafy reddish vegetable that might have been some queer sort of cabbage. Whatever it was, it had not made her sick. Aside from that, and one fish that she had caught in the spring-fed pool outside of Drogon's cave, she had survived as best she could on the dragon's leavings, on bird bones and chunks of smoking meat, half charred and half raw. There were fish in the spring-fed pool by Drogon's cave. She had caught one on her first day, and she might catch more. There would be scraps, charred bones with bits of flesh on them, the remnants of Drogon's kills. Dany cupped her hands to drink. The water made her belly cramp, but cramps were easier to bear than thirst. She had no other drink but the morning dew that glistened on the tall grass, and no food at all unless she cared to eat the grass. I could try eating ants. The little yellow ones were too small to provide much in the way of nourishment, but there were red ants in the grass, and those were bigger.
I am lost at sea,
She said as she limped along beside her meandering rivulet.
so perhaps I'll find some crabs or a nice fat fish.
Shall we stop here to discuss or continue?
I feel like it's...
Yep. Just past midday, she came upon a bush growing by the stream, its twisted limbs covered with hard green berries. Dany squinted at them suspiciously, then plucked one from a branch and nibbled at it. Its flesh was tart and chewy, with a bitter aftertaste that seemed familiar to her.
In the Khalasar, they used berries like these to flavor roasts.
She decided. Saying it aloud made her more certain of it. Her belly rumbled, and Dany found herself picking berries with both hands and tossing them into her mouth. An hour later, her stomach began to cramp so badly that she could not go on. She spent the rest of that day retching up green slime.
And then Drogon the dragon kills an animal, a horse. And Dany, starved, slid off his back and ate with him, ripping chunks of smoking meat from the dead horse with bare, burned hands. Remember when Targaryens are fireproof in the books? Burned hands. In Meereen, I was a queen in silk, nibbling on stuffed dates and honeyed lamb, she remembered. What would my noble husband think if he could see me now? Hisdar would be horrified, no doubt. But Dario would laugh, carve off a hunk of horse meat with his arak, and squat down to eat beside her. So we spared you the
Yeah, that's what I was gearing up for.
There is the Daenerys diarrhea description, the triple D in here. We're not going to rate that, but
It would be an F tier.
it would be
Just
an
so
F
you
tier.
know.
But yeah, I like how George Martin's writing about Daenerys being lost and alone in the Dothraki Sea, and the number one priority is what's she eating?
Yeah, how the hell is she surviving?
I feel like that's always George's first question is like, in this
What are these
circumstance,
people eating?
what are these people eating? How do they feel about what they're eating? And so she's in a survival situation, and yeah, she's eating queer cabbages and burned bones and chunks of smoking meat and funny berries.
Funny berries that make her stomach cramp.
It also makes her have crazy visions of Quaithe and Jorah and Viserys.
No,
later
those are
on.
real. Those aren't... That wasn't because of the berries. Those are just real people showing up.
You think Harry Lloyd is just still out there in the Dothraki Sea?
Yeah.
Just stumbling around with a golden hat?
Yeah.
Because he is fireproof.
Yeah.
So he's fine.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. None of this is good.
No.
All of this is bad.
I do like that she's like, Dario would like this. Like, she finds something to relate to in her horrible circumstances. Like, she's an animal tearing chunks of horse flesh off of a charred corpse. And she's like, my boyfriend would love this.
Well, because it's a chapter about her identity.
Yeah.
And she married Hisdar because she thought that she could take on a Myronese identity at least enough to bring peace to Meereen. But this chapter is about her realizing that no, like I just can't play that role. This just does not work for me. It doesn't work for anyone else. I am not okay with any of this. I need to be a Targaryen. I need to be me. I need to have sex with my hunky pirate murderer boyfriend. Like, that's who I am, not this pampered, nibbling Myronese with one boob hanging out.
No,
that's just not her identity.
I'm a fierce Targaryen dragon rider.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what she's actually doing here is she's an animal.
Yeah.
She's on her knees tearing flesh off of another beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of that thing of like she's rejecting the Miranese with their, fetus kebabs and their dogtail soup, but she's embracing Targaryen identity, which is, the words of fire and blood, and it's
Yeah.
all about murdering. So it's like Valyria is not a great cultural legacy either.
Whose house words are shit and vomit? Because that also is what she's up to in this.
I think House Crab.
Aw.
So yeah, none of it's good, but she is at least like returning to who she really is. So I guess that's something.
Hooray.
Hooray!
How do we rate the food described here?
I mean, it's difficult to rate, but none of it's good. I mean, I'm sure the meat tastes amazing.
Yeah.
When it's like the only protein that she's having is like
Yeah.
these chunks of burned horse and stuff. I mean, that probably would be great. But I mean, the diarrhea berries, not so much.
What about the ants?
The ants, not so much. The queer cabbage, not so much. So, E?
Yeah, there's no human flesh, and we skipped out on the diarrhea. E.
At least there's no human flesh. Hey, look, we've made it to the epilogue.
Oh my goodness.
We've made it to the final published chapter of
Oh.
A Song of Ice and Fire.
It's all hitting me now. We've come so far.
Oh my god. The last 20 hours are flashing before my eyes.
We did all of the... We've done all the books.
That's crazy.
We're done.
Well, it depends how long we take on this epilogue.
Yeah, this could take us hours to discuss.
So, the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, the final published chapter in the mainline Song of Ice and Fire books, is a Kevin Lannister chapter.
Woohoo.
Kevin Lannister does appear in the Game of Thrones TV show. Not very memorable in the TV show.
I think he's an okay character.
Yeah. But he's having breakfast with the royals, King Tommen.
Ian Gelder. I remembered the actor's name.
I don't know how you have room in your mind palace for every side character's actor's name. It's
Well,
incredible.
I forget everyone else's name in my actual life.
Supper began with beef and barley soup, followed by a brace of quail and a roast pike near 3 feet long, with turnips, mushrooms, and plenty of hot bread and butter. Sir Boros tasted every dish that was set before the king.
Sounds pretty good.
From soup to sweet, Tommen burbled about the exploits of his kittens, whilst feeding them morsels of pike off his own royal plate.
And that's it. That's the last one.
That's the last food description.
That's crazy.
So obviously they're contrasting the relaxed, indulgent, tasty meals enjoyed by the king in his comfortable castle and the innocence of little Tommen playing with these kittens. Because Tommen is like 5 years old or something in the books?
I thought it was 6 by now.
Something like that. While everyone else in this story is like starving and eating burnt horse flesh and
we just came
poisoned
from
locusts.
Yeah,
and,
Daenerys is eating berries that make your mind melt.
yeah. So it's this last little bubble of plenty in this messed up world, and this tiny little bubble is about to be popped because Varys murders Kevin and Pycelle.
And also Kevin gets we see the raven heralding the arrival of winter.
Yeah. Yeah, winter has come. And young Griff is coming, and Daenerys is coming, and undead Jon is coming, and White Walkers are coming, and playtime's over.
So all this plenty, all of this lovely, I'll just toss a bit of fish to my cat. Like, that's not staying. We're done with that now. This is like the last pop of innocence in the entire series, maybe, is Tommen feeding his kittens.
I wonder how Tommen will die in the books.
He won't. He'll make it the whole way, for sure, yeah.
Be great if he survived, fled east.
Aww.
It's the sort of thing where Varys might want to keep Tommen in his back pocket.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Or maybe Littlefinger will do it.
Yeah.
Because there are cases of a prince or a king, well, I guess a prince being shipped over to the east in case,
Yeah.
or even captured by a foreign power.
Prince in your pocket.
Yep. But the food,
Prudent provisions.
the beef and barley soup and the pike,
Prudent prince protection.
bread and button.
Preventing
preventing
panic.
Oh yeah. Good.
I think that this tastes delicious.
It sounds fine. Yeah. Good.
I think it's more than fine. Roast pike 3 feet long with turnips, mushrooms, and plenty of
Oh,
hot bread and butter.
Plenty is doing a lot of work there, yeah.
I think, is that an A or an S?
I don't know if it's S. I think S, it needs to be like special, like a cake that
Yeah.
only women can eat.
Yeah, no, there have been some much more like scrumptious,
Yeah.
mouth-watering descriptions in other chapters.
Whereas this is just like, yeah, man, lots of, like, it sounds great, sure. But it's like, here's a fish, turnip, mushroom, bread. You know, it's just like plain stuff. I mean, for our palates, at least.
After the absolute cornucopia of food that we've experienced over this series, this is not a top-ranked one.
Yeah. It's good,
It's good.
but it's not tops.
All right, A it is.
Hey, we've done it.
Glidus, we have ranked every food description in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Why?
We've finished a series.
Oh my god.
We've never done that before. We have started so many series. We've started character alignments. We've started theories. We've done Pictionary. We've started.
Oh, we
all these
need to do
different
another
things.
Pictionary. That was so much fun.
This is the series that we finished.
What's wrong with us? What are they thinking?
Why did we do this? Oh my god! It's a really cool survey of the entire series, though, isn't it?
Yeah, what a fascinating... I was not expecting to have, like, such interesting conversations about the series, talking about food descriptions. Like, this is a meme. Let's be serious here
Yeah.
for a moment. We did this as a joke, but then it turned out that this is actually a really interesting way to think about the story.
Yeah, because George does so much of his writing through food, and so it's an amazing window. It's an amazing slice through the series, like taking a core sample and like looking through. It's
a cross-section.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm very thankful that everybody's
Giving us their time and
Yes.
some money. Thank you for that as well.
It's almost like we are the turkey.
Yeah, and we've been pardoned to talk about
Yes.
food.
And the gravy is the enthusiasm of the viewers.
And of course, you cannot give up on the gravy.
you can't.
And
give
we
up
will
on the
never give
gravy.
up on you.
Thank you, everybody, for participating in this ridiculous series. My gosh.
I can't believe it.
I'm excited to see the if there's a graph of the food descriptions, because I think that like some very industrious viewers have made graphs of our descriptions over time. It does seem as though we were giving out a lot more negative rankings in this second half of A Dance with Dragons,
Yeah.
weren't we? So I think that's sort of what we expected, is that Dance gets real gnarly later on.
I wonder what the line of best fit looks like across the entire series.
Yeah,
Like, is
like
it
the
just a
trend line.
straight line down? I don't know.
Well, you'll need a quadratic
Yeah,
equation,
yeah.
I think, to do it properly. I don't know if we have enough data to be statistically significant, but, you know.
Someone draw a squiggly line on a graph and I'll believe it.
Calculate that p-value, guys. My gosh. This has been cool and fun,
Yeah.
and surprisingly insightful.
Wowzers.
And I think now we shall respond to your donations and super chats.
I think that's a prudent thing to do.
We will do our best to respond to as many as we can. We can't promise that we'll respond to every single one, but we'll do our best, and we're very grateful to everybody. And if you do want to donate or super chat, it is better
There we
to
are.
donate using the Streamlabs link in the description. That is better than super chats, because Professor Reginald YouTube takes
That's right.
a healthy slice of every super chat for himself. So Streamlabs is better.
Thank you all very much, and I hope you enjoyed the final course.
Yes.
Thank you, Louise, for saying that we are both delicious. Much love from Brazil.
Be Brazil.
Be Brazil. Well, I want you to be Brazil as well.
Let's all be Brazil together. Thank you, Through the Wormhole, who says, I'm so happy I made it to final stream. Be well.
We are well. I hope you're well as well.
Thank you, Mike, who says, is the total runtime of this series longer than the fake Jon Snow?
I don't know. You've been throwing around the 20-hour figure quite a bit, and I don't know if that's true. I think you might have made that up.
Did I know. I think I glanced and I like approximately added up the hours. I think it was about approximately 20 hours before we started this final stream.
Okay, and we've been going for 2 hours now, so that's 22 hours, and the fake Jon Snow is 22 hours long.
Yeah, it's actually shockingly similar amount of time.
Wow.
So if you listened to both the fake Jon Snow and the food description series,
Your weekend will be over and you have to go to work.
well, you'll have an entire 4 hours to sleep over those 2 days. So someone will do it. Don't recommend it medically, but someone will do it.
The existential shrew says, is there even one turkey, though?
Yeah, no, I don't think there are turkeys in this world.
Because, of course, turkeys are a New World fowl.
I mean, that's one of the other undercurrents here is which foods do and do not exist in Westeros.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear, maybe you could draw some conclusions.
I feel like I should make a video about that.
Because, like, that's the other thing about this accidental shitpost is that we've accidentally become some of the most informed ASOIAF food experts
That's true.
this side of Carth. So, should we use our knowledge for good or for evil?
Well, now might be an okay time to discuss, like, New World and Old World vegetables, because I've been flip-flopping on that issue all throughout the series.
Yeah, what is your take at this point?
Well, for the most part, George is committed to there not being New World crops in Westeros. There are no potatoes, there are no tomatoes.
New World meaning the Americas.
Yes, the
He's
Americas.
only talking about foods that were in Europe before the colonization
Yes.
of America by Europeans.
The Columbian Exchange, as we'll call it. So yeah, there are no sweet potatoes or tomatoes or many of the other but the sticking point is corn. Now, in the long ago, and in some places still today, corn referred to like any grain or kernel of a plant, right?
Is it synonymous with maize? Is maize also
No.
one? No.
Maize specifically is like what we think of as corn
So,
today.
so maize is always corn, but corn is not always corn.
That's right. Because like the word peppercorn gives you a clue as to
Right.
like where that came from. So a peppercorn is like an entire thing of black pepper, right? Or white pepper. No, white pepper is anyway. So when Mormont's Raven is eating corn, it's easy for us to think that it's maize, but it might not be.
It probably isn't if we're assuming the
Yeah.
New World or World thing is consistent.
But then there are the Dornish peppers, the fiery hot red peppers of Dorne, right? And I'm pretty sure that those are exclusively a New World crop.
And when we say peppers, that's what some call capsicum.
Look,
Except it's like a chili thing
it
as well.
could mean a chili, like a habanero or something like that, but it could also mean a capsicum.
Where
like
is
a bell
where
pepper.
is the line between capsicum / bell pepper and chilies?
Probably at the end of the Chili's parking lot.
Ah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean Dawn. Wait, so are you saying that like capsicums and bell peppers and chilies all come from the Americas?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's funny because Dawn is kind of glued on to Westeros when it really is more like Spain and the Mediterranean and North Africa
Yes.
as much as it is the United Kingdom.
It's weird.
So
like,
maybe
drawing
that's a consequence
analogs.
of just George Martin's geographical smushing that
But
he's done to form this world.
I think there is like maybe one obscure thing that is spicy. I mean, there are spicy foods obviously from the old world, but like specifically peppers are New World. But I think there might be one or something that's old world. So maybe he gets off on a technicality. I can't remember. I should have looked into this before mouthing off about it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting field.
I mean, it's worth remembering that Westeros has contact with the Summer Isles.
That is true.
And so that, I mean, the Summer Isles is kind of the Caribbean,
Yeah, maybe.
which is kind of the New World.
Yeah, maybe they're Dornish peppers because they come to Westeros through Dorne, but they're not actually Dornish.
Yeah.
Like the way that the turkey fowl became known to Europeans as turkeys because they were shipped to Europe through Turkey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so maybe that like New World, Old World distinction exists. It's just that Westeros does have some trade with those like outside areas like the Summer Isles. And, you know, not to even mention Sothorios and you know, like there is other influence on Westeros, so maybe they are beginning to get some of those outside foods.
Yeah, maybe there are turkeys running around in Easteros.
I would watch the hell out of a like 10-minute Glidus video going through some of these food insights.
Well, we've done the research now, so might as well just like verify my thoughts and present them in a well-structured way.
Thank you, Monotream Wisdom. Are you related to the existential shrew?
Well, shrews aren't monotremes. Everyone knows that.
Well, they're Monotream adjacent.
No, they're not. Happy Thanksgiving, you Glibberty Schwibbits. What ASOIAF meal makes your mouth salivate the most? Godry's cousin's cock. Thanks for asking.
I think there's a lot of like honeyed roast meats and roast vegetables that I was enjoying. I mean, I almost want to see a compilation of the S ratings that we did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. Like, we've collected our data, but there really needs to be a data.
Someone needs to collect the data we've
analysis.
collected. Yeah. There
Yeah.
needs a meta-analysis of our studies.
We do. Like, yeah, I would love to see a list of all the STS. I feel like I've been most attracted to, like, some of the roast meats and roast vegetables have been some of the best.
Yeah. I think my sweet tooth might come through a bit more if you, like, compared our thoughts against one another.
Also, I've been enthusiastic about a lot of the wines and the beers, like the dark beers and the red wines. I think all of that sounds great as well.
Forever Blue says, "Happy Thanksgiving, guys." Hang on, those are Canadian dollars. Are you lying?
What's going on
You're not
here?
celebrating Thanksgiving today. You guys did it last month. What do you look forward most on the upcoming Night of the Seven Kingdoms show? For me,
food.
the food. For me, it's how reflective Egg's dome is. I want that sweet HBO money to polish that egg.
If I can't see my face in that kid's pate, then the money was misallocated.
Yeah, I need to be able to see like continuity errors in that kid's head, like a boom mic, or like the cameraman's sunglasses reflected off of his head.
Hell yeah. It'd be such a pain in the ass to keep that head shaved for the duration of filming.
Yeah. Oh well.
It'd also be very... I guess Dunk probably shaves Egg's head for him, because it would be very difficult to shave your own head without a mirror. Nora, thank you for the super chat.
Thanks,
Thank
Nora.
you, Aiden, who says, "And here it all ends. Thank you for being my comfort content every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Cannot wait to see what is next. CK3.
Ooh.
The Fake Tyrion.
Ooh.
I will be happy with anything. Thank you again. Glidus Snow.
What do you think of all that?
What is next?
That's a great question. Well, we've been teasing it, discussing some of George's other work. We've been teasing it, talking about horses, obviously. There's so many things that we need to do. We need to play more Pictionary because that was a gas.
That absolutely was fantastic. We need to start selling T-shirts with those masterpieces.
Yeah,
drawn on
true.
them.
Like the womb with two people in it. That's
Oh my god.
that's a hilarious image that we haven't capitalized on yet.
I'm not sure Teespring is going to allow us to manufacture that.
I'm pretty sure this is a war crime. We can't sell that.
And like, of course, there's also like the theories streams.
Yeah,
and
there
the
are like
character alignment
thousands of
streams.
theories that we need to talk about.
Like we have barely started talking about ASOIAF theories.
And then there's that entire document we have that has several years worth of stream ideas. Like, we're not going anywhere, folks.
Yeah, no, there are plenty of ideas, big and small, and yeah.
And then in the interim, I definitely need to play more CK3. I don't know if you're interested in that.
It's got too many buttons for me.
Yeah, it is quite overwhelming for a first timer. The fake Tyrion. So we did the fake Jon Snow. Like, we sort of dared ourselves into doing that, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, like all of our projects, we wouldn't have started it if we realized how intense it was going to be.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
We were joking when we said we were going to do it. And then we did it.
For some reason, we actually did it.
And your position is that we probably won't do anything like that again?
I would contemplate doing something like that again. I don't feel like jumping into Tyrion. I think it might be a different character. I mean, as I've said,
maybe we should do something smaller first.
Yeah. I mean, any... Like, you could do... Even, like, Bran or Stannis or something would be...
Stannis would be an interesting one to discuss.
It would be
'cause he's quite
quicker and
different.
easier, but it would also be interesting. So that would be cool.
Yeah. It's just like Tyrion being the full 8-season main character. It's just such a huge undertaking, and Daenerys and Cersei as well.
And also, I already, that's the other thing. I already know what my conclusion will be, which is that Tyrion is really underwhelming in the TV show.
Yeah. Whereas if we talked about Stannis, neither of us has really done that much on the internet. So
yeah, I am open to the idea of doing a fake character marathon again, but I think there'll be a few other things we do before that.
yeah, agreed.
Thank you, ASAC Hank Schrader, who says the different northern conspiracies are like 5 trucks approaching the same point at 50 miles per hour.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's a whole lot of people with crazy plots all colliding, and they don't know that each other exists.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 5 trucks driving towards each other with their headlights off in the dark in a blizzard, and they're about to collide. Thank you, Jovius, who says, previously, the High Septon decreed that Valyrians were uniquely able to participate in incestuous marriages that Westerosi couldn't. Do you think a similar decree that Valyrian women were uniquely capable of ruling would have lessened or voided the dance? Yeah, possibly. Because, like, the Iron Throne has always operated by a different set of inheritance rules than
That is true.
lordships and things, and Dawn has had a separate system than either the other lordships or the throne.
I think if that were to ever happen, it would have been with Egg and Mariah Martell, right? When Dawn was folded into the realm.
Yeah, and when they were unusually progressive rulers.
I just don't see why the High Septon would decree something like that, because the Faith of the Seven is, like, you know, a traditionally sexist institution in the way that, like, Westerosi culture is just normal to.
Yeah, I mean, it might help, but it would not be sufficient for the Faith to say so. I think you'd also need, like,
a cultural change.
I mean, basically, if Vizzy T was more assertive
Yep.
in proclaiming Rhaenyra and continuing to proclaim Rhaenyra, and if Viserys built up more alliances and built up more people who more firmly installed Rhaenyra as his heir and made Rhaenyra his Hand of the King, making Rhaenyra the Hand of the King might be a good way to step into Rhaenyra being a respected queen.
Because the acceptance of Valyrian incestuous marriages wasn't just down to the High Septon, it was down to Aegon's strength and Jaehaerys' strength, right?
Yeah,
It came down to these rulers actually ruling and trying to shape the realm in their own image, which of course included marrying their hot sisters.
and yeah, I mean, like, the reason why all of this is such a disaster, the reason why the Targaryen dynasty is such a disaster is that almost every succession has been contested and messy and murderous. Like, if Aegon the Conqueror from the start had established, this is how succession works, this is what we're doing, then maybe it'd be fine. But we had all that business with Aenys and Maegor killing Aenys' kids and all of that.
Jaehaerys had to clean up.
Yeah, almost like...
And then Jaehaerys' sons died, and they had to have 2 councils about who's going to succeed him.
Yeah, so, like, there's no clear precedent, there's no clear system, and that's why it's so messy. So if they had just picked something and enforced it and stuck to it, we'd be a lot better off. Westeros would be. We're not in Westeros because Westeros is fictional.
That's true. Real.
Worth
I mean, similar things did happen in, like, every kingdom.
Just with fewer dragons. Thank you, Darth Schwiftius.
Now that's a story I want to hear.
Who says, hi Glinda and Schwellfarber. Is it just me, or is Wicked low-key a rip-off of Rainiscent? I have not seen Wicked.
I haven't seen Wicked either.
Thank you.
But yes.
But now I want to. Thank you, Nicole Nark, who says, just got home from Thanksgiving and received a ping from Glidus.
Gobble gobble.
Best way to end Turkey Day. Happy holidays, boys. Eat lots.
I will. Once we're done streaming, I'm going to feast.
I've been eating turkey this whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's surprisingly quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm a stealth turkey gobbler.
Ah, good.
Thank you, Max M, who says, first time catching you. That's not what a turkey sounds like.
What does a turkey sound like? Oh, yeah?
Gobble, gobble.
First time catching you live. Very exciting. I have a question / theory. Do you think House of the Dragon Season 2 suffered bed of the writer's strike? I say yes. We weren't in the writer's room, so we can't tell you firsthand, but some people in the entertainment industry have reported that because of the writer's strike, they were unable to change the script of House of the Dragon Season 2 while they were filming House of the Dragon Season 2, which is a restriction that they don't normally have. And there are indications that there were things that they would have liked to have changed that they couldn't because of the rules of the writer's strike.
Now, it's easy to like throw blame at the writer's strike for that then, but it's also been said, speculated maybe, I'm not entirely sure the veracity of this, that Warner Brothers HBO forced production of the season while the showrunners wanted to delay production until the writer's strike had ended.
Yeah.
So
it was a very awkward compromise. No one was happy about what was no one was happy about what was happening. Ryan Condal and Sarah Hess have talked about how frustrating the whole thing was. And you can tell that they're trying to restrain themselves about how much they're saying. I think they obviously are more frustrated than they have been able to say publicly.
they must be in such a horrible position.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think we have enough information to like point fingers, and I also don't think it would be helpful or constructive to point fingers. But I mean, the answer is yes. House of the Dragon season 2 was negatively affected by the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And also affected by Max changing it from 10 to 8 episodes. And, you know, I'm sure everyone involved made mistakes to varying degrees.
Mistakes were made in
the
months preceding House of the Dragon season 2.
And so, yeah, it is a bit of a frustrating season. I think the structures and the pacing is pretty whack. And that's really unfortunate. And it's also really unfortunate and sad that George Martin, the author, has made all these negative blog posts criticizing some of the adaptation choices. So I really hope they get their shit together for season 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's the thing. It sounds like everyone involved needs to get their shit together in some capacity.
The showrunners and the author and the network
The production
are all
company.
criticizing each other. It's obviously a team that is not functioning correctly.
It's like Winterfell with 5 trucks careening towards each other
In a
into
snowstorm.
blizzard. Yeah.
During-
and the food is running low.
During the bursting of the streaming bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a setup for a
Jeez.
disaster.
Squidoo says, in before the Americans bombard us with Thanksgiving. Hi guys, thank you for this series. I'm incredibly autistic, and you guys discussing my special interest has become my new special interest.
Hell
Isn't it funny
yeah.
how that works out? I watch each VOD 1 time a week. Aw,
Thanks,
you.
Squidoo. Wait, so you guys discussing my special interest has become my new special
Yes,
interest?
the interest has been displaced from the thing we're talking about to us talking about the thing.
That's meta. What if someone talks about us talking
Yeah,
about the thing?
There needs to be a cottage streaming industry around people watching us and discussing the things we're saying.
What if Squidoo starts streaming about ASOIAF, and that
Well,
becomes someone
I
else's
think,
special interest?
I think we should watch that together and stream our reactions to it.
Yeah, like that Bo Burnham reacting
Exactly.
to Bo Burnham reacting to Bo Burnham. Yeah.
John Braxton says, I hope y'all are healthy and happy. For Glidus, that's me, what's your thoughts on the origins of life?
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
god. Do I think molecules sparked panspermia or something else? I love listening to you discuss taxonomy. I love doing it, even though I feel as though I'm not quite as qualified as I should be to discuss this sort of thing on the internet. I hope that my statements don't come off with confidence, they come off with enthusiasm.
I think that they do come up with enthusiasm.
So I'm personally inclined not to panspermia. I think that the molecule theory is a lot more plausible, but like I'm not a scientist in any regard, not like much less for what's the word for the study of the origin of life?
Abiogenesis.
That's the one.
Yeah, I also don't know anything, but I really enjoy listening to
People who do.
people who do.
Yeah.
I like Fraser Kane is a YouTuber, podcaster, and Pamela Gay on Astronomy Cast, who actually sort of knows some things about these topics, and I'm really interested in Fraser Kane's take on the Fermi paradox. And Fraser Kane makes this interesting argument where he reckons that life on Earth is probably the only life in the universe.
I don't like thinking about the Fermi paradox. Like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting, but it unsettles me.
I also really like there's a YouTuber called Isaac Arthur who talks about the Fermi paradox in extreme detail. So I think those are really just fascinating existential philosophical questions, and I don't know the answers, but there's some really radical ideas out there that are really fun to explore. So I don't know. I don't know what my answer is either, but maybe check out Fraser Cain and Pamela Gay and Isaac Arthur.
Or don't. Mikey Fake Name says, "Hey, Schniffed and Glift, how will Sir Davos Seaworth's story end in the book?"
I really hope he goes home to Maya.
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Goes home to his wife and his surviving kids.
It's like, "Hey, honey, I'm back from work. What a crazy day."
Because Davos is interesting because, he's the one, like, normal guy who was, like, common born and he's salt of the earth and he's caught up in this whole crazy thing. He's like Samwise Gamgee. I want him to go home to Rosie. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I hope he gets a happy ending because no one deserves it more than him. And he's the sort of character who might actually get it.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. Izzy says, "Thrilled to catch the finals stream live. Thank you for getting me through some hard months." If you care to share, how do you both like your eggs prepared? Thank you for asking.
Finally.
Yeah, jeez.
I am perfectly happy with just like a boiled egg, but if I can then like smush it onto some toast, and if there's also some like avocado involved and some like tomato and mushrooms and spinach, like I'm a food maximalist. I want just the most ingredients going on simultaneously as possible. And eggs, once they get all yolky, ooh, you get some coffee. It's about,
You're just describing brunch.
I know.
You love brunch.
I do love brunch. I mean, what we've learned from these food descriptions is that it's not just about any one ingredient. It like the whole point of cooking is that the sum is greater than the meal is greater than the sum of its parts. That's what cooking is. And so I feel like it's
a symphony.
It's about the context. It's about who you're eating it with. It's about the coffee. It's about the ambience. It's about the soundtrack, and it's about what the rest of your day is going to be.
So you like your eggs prepared with friends?
Yeah. The most important ingredient is friendship.
Over easy. I enjoy scrambled eggs also, but over easy is the optimal way to enjoy eggs.
Thank you, Bane's Basement, who says, "Me when she songs on my I Still I Fire."
That's so true, and I'm glad you said it. Someone finally said it.
You're so real for that one, Bane's
One
Basement.
Peony Fussini, I just had to throw caution to the end to the wind with that one. Gliznak and Schwizdar, do you guys think you're sometimes way too mean to Swift Scrunkle, Alt Shift X, calling him a tosser and so on? What did he ever do?
Look, there's personal
you don't know,
reasons. There's things that I won't get into because I'm the better man, and I'm not just gonna like drag personal life into these public beefs. But there's also philosophical disagreements between myself and Alt Shift X.
He's a fan of panspermia theory, isn't he?
Yeah, well, Alt Shift X thinks he has all the answers, and he doesn't leave home without like a pocket protector and like 3 different spreadsheets, whereas I realize that the only way to jump into life is balls first. And I think that if he doesn't understand that, he's never going to reach my level. Alt Shift X would never do a 22-hour food description ranking.
True.
Alt Shift X would never rank or rate anything.
No, he's too lame.
Shift does not...
The one time he tried ranking things, he left Oberyn off the
left
top fighters
Oberyn
list.
out of the top 10 fighters of Westeros.
What an idiot.
Shift wouldn't know an opinion from a fact if he was looking out his own bunghole. So so that's not even mentioning what happened with my ex-wife. So look, Shift just needs to understand how to make YouTube videos, or I'm going to have to teach him.
He's just lacking in steez.
He hasn't got the X factor.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
He's not
outraged that
poppin'.
he stole my name and stole my style. Everyone thinks Shift came first. I was here decades before Shift. In fact, I taught Shift everything he knows. And I'm outraged that he betrayed me by trying to start his own channel as though it's his own thing when I was the mentor behind all of it. Nothing would have happened. Shift never would have happened without Swift.
Did you teach him that whiplash-inducing video editing style where...
Well, he went way too far with it. I taught him how to use After Effects, and then he proceeded to make 100 videos exclusively in After Effects.
Why the fuck did you teach him After Effects? You're supposed to do all of that in Premiere.
You know that Kung Pao joke where it's like, I taught him wrong as a joke? The thing about Shift is that Shift is reductive. Shift takes what is there and tries to reduce it
That's
and
true,
reduce
whereas-
it and boil it down
Where-
until it's just a few little sentences, a few little facts.
We're expansive.
We make things greater and
Bigger.
larger. We expand.
We're not here to boil down the essence of a story. We're here to fill it with sawdust.
We give, we add, whereas Shift does nothing but take away. He excises, he cuts away to the bone, but all the good shit's on the meat.
We're the meat and potatoes.
We're the meat.
We're the gleet and schwatatoes.
And the skeleton would not get anywhere without the meat, blood, and tendons. And while Shift is nothing but a skeleton, Swift is the meat, blood, and mother's milk. That's your answer.
Thanks for asking. He's his half grunkle, by the way. Bastard half grunkle.
Well, the family tree is also a point of considerable contention. It
Especially
comes
now.
down to the inheritance proceedings after the death of our forebear, which was a drawn-out legal struggle that continues to this day. So the DNA testing was inconclusive because it turns out that we couldn't actually determine Shift's DNA based on the toenails, which turned out to actually be an entirely different chitinous substance.
And I guess that the time travel would really complicate things there as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, legally, Shift is my nephew, but biologically, he's something closer to my demi grunkle, I think. Yeah,
Demi
grunkle. Yeah.
Moving on, Extreme Potato says, this stream is going to distract me from finishing up my reread of Stormlight before Wind and Truth comes out next week.
Is that
Yeah, the Brando book is coming out soon.
yeah, continuing to dunk on George with his prolific writing.
It's crazy.
Thank you, Tony Manic, who says, loving the live streams. Do either of you have a favorite line from one of Martin's works?
We did this last time.
Yeah, we did answer this last time. Can we think of a different answer this
She
time?
drank until she shat, and she shat until she drank. Whatever it is.
S tier.
This is the stuff, Lino.
Eddie Lopez says, so glad I finally caught your food stream live. Final one's the charm, I suppose.
Sure is.
Yeah, this is a finale, grand finale of
Incredible.
a series. Oh my gosh.
Glimbo Sand says, how would you feel about the new Game of Thrones movie being about Summerhall, connecting Dunk and Egg with the main series with the birth of Rhaegar?
I think it makes no sense to do Summerhall until after the Dunk and Egg story is told.
Like, imagine we see our two main characters of this new show die in a movie set between the second and third seasons. Like, what?
Confusing stuff.
Yeah.
I think that the Summerhall story being a movie after the end of the Dunk and Egg show could be cool. I don't see why not. But that does mean that we're going to need like 10 seasons of Dunk and Egg, which someone is going to have to write. And I have heard that George is busy because he keeps buying burritos for YouTubers.
Yeah, that's true.
I would love very much to see Summerhall on screen, but there's a lot of writing that needs to be done before that can happen.
And that movie is in such early stages that I find it sort of pointless to speculate.
Yeah, I find it silly the way people report projects that are in very early development as though they are definitely going to happen when usually they don't.
Yeah, this has happened before.
Yes.
And that Jon Snow show actually ended up not happening at all.
Yeah, so did Blood Moon, and they actually filmed that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pie Guy, who says, Frey pie is obviously going to taste grim and weaselly. Which great house do you think would make the best tasting pie? Love you both.
So if we're talking Great House, like surely that's just the 9 main ones, right?
Well, you know, there's more obscure ones like the Danes that might taste interesting.
But they're not they're technically not a great house because they're
Right, okay, right. Pie said great house.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who would you eat? I would not eat a Greyjoy if you paid me.
I think it could be the Tyrells.
Yeah.
Just because of like the plenty of the reach.
I feel like the Tyrells are going to be like the healthiest and the best fed and the most, you know, succulent.
The Baratheons might be
Yeah.
like nice and like protein rich, right?
Yeah, well, do you want a muscular animal to
Yeah,
eat, or
it
do you want like a
depends.
fat, plump animal to eat? I would
It's not the Arryns for sure.
absolutely not the Arryns. The seed is not strong. Sorry.
If you want something like a bit more flavorful, it's probably the Martells.
Yeah, bit spicy.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Oh,
Julius.
Blood of the Dragon. Targaryens might be good.
Who says gloopshed and swooshed who says, "Thank you for these streams. They helped me during a bad time. Anyway, what is your favorite way to read books, paper or audio?"
I think you mostly read books on a computer screen, don't you?
I mostly read via ebook. Yeah. Specifically when I'm reading and I'm like taking notes, I certainly do it on ebook. But yeah, even just like reading for pleasure is normally an ebook, because it's more flexible and you can do it everywhere, and you don't have to carry a paper book everywhere.
I love carrying a big paper book everywhere. I like exclusively read on paper unless I'm taking notes. Because I don't want to, paradoxically, even though paper is the thing you're supposed to write on, I don't like writing on books, even though I know it's a completely normal thing to do, and I don't mind if anyone else does it, but I don't like doing it.
Have you seen my fully annotated copy of A Game of Thrones?
I have, and it...
There is an artifact which exists, which is the Alt Swift X copy of A Game of Thrones that was used for the Game of Thrones Abridged podcast. And every page of the book is annotated with scrawled, incomprehensible, drunken scribblings. It's a pretty special artifact. I have thought about like auctioning it for charity or something, or maybe like burning it in some kind of blood magic ritual.
Yeah.
I reckon if we like burned the fully
if I ate
annotated
it?
Swift, if you ate it and we prayed to the right gods, I think Wind and Dream would come out on the next 2 subsequent days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty special artifact, I feel. Thank you, Kit of the Weird Woods, who says, "I'm a vegetarian, but if someone else killed and cooked my enemies and then served them to me in an amazing sounding pie, I'd have to try a bit."
That is an interesting point.
I appreciate your open-mindedness,
Yeah,
Kit.
yeah.
I think you would have to try.
So, most of my enemies don't taste very good. That's why they're my enemies.
They're your enemies because they don't taste good?
Yeah, why would I be friends with people who taste icky? Ugh.
So do you bite people before you are certain whether they are your friend or foe?
I've been advised by my lawyers that I can neither confirm nor deny that. Thank you, Elizabeth. This is the stuff, Lionel. Thanks, Glimby and Swifty.
This is the stuff, Lionel.
Thank you, Noah Bathgate, who says, "Hi, Schwiftsgiving and Glistmas. Glad I tuned in. ASOIAF has been calling me back like the Green Goblin's mask lately. What is your favorite episode of Always Sunny, and where would Milksteak rank?"
What are your thoughts on this?
I think that Charlie work is very special.
Charlie work is very good.
I also like the Mystery Turd episode. Is really good.
Which one's that? I like the musical one a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of great episodes.
It's a
in
very
that
good show.
It is a very good show. What if we ranked every Always Sunny episode?
Oh my god. That would take so long. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Raydom, who says the end of an era.
It sure is. We'll have to move on to our next arc. Thank you, Tiny Circle Committee, who says, "Hi."
Glumbombulumba.
Interesting. And Alt Swifter X. How would you feel if a newly undead bad boy John and Melisandre made an army of fire whites using dead from the Northern Wars? Melisandre may sacrifice herself. Oh, this is a theory rating that they've already done themselves.
Tiny Circle Committee has rated their own theory for our convenience. Coolness 5 out of 5. Likelihood 1 out of 5. Narrative sense 3 out of 5. I think it's interesting. I mean, one of the great disappointments of the Long Night Battle in Game of Thrones Season 8 was that they went to all the trouble of setting up Kinvara and Melisandre going off somewhere, and also seeing more Red Priests in Volantis, but none of them appeared again or did anything again. So I would have loved it if a bunch of like fire-infused zombies burst into scene, like Beric. And all just burst. Like, what if Melisandre and all the Red Priests all sacrifice themselves in like a scary Jonestown?
Kinvara?
Yeah, even Kinvara.
Oh my god.
What if they all, your favorite character, I know. What if they all gave up their lives, gave up their fire to resurrect some like scary superpowered fire whites, like Victarion's volcano arm, but the whole body? Like, that would be sick. It would be in keeping with the lore, and it would be a pretty good weapon against the ice zombies, I would think.
Woohoo.
So yeah, I mean, I think something like that would be very cool. Tiny Circle Committee.
Yeah. I don't know if John might be involved in it.
Yeah, how keen on sorcery is John going to be? I feel like John will work with Melisandre. Like, Melisandre has been trying to tempt Jon with sorcery and sex all through book 5, and I feel like eventually she's going to wear him down once he's been resurrected by her power. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did engage in some of that sorcery, though ultimately he might realize that Melisandre is maybe not a good person, and maybe fire magic is not a good thing to do, but he may enter that before he rejects it.
Thank you, Anonymous, for saying a steam I can make. Hooray. It's very easy to make steam if you're in a kettle. Question for you two. Considering Omniwalda and the various time-traveling Feti, how many unique characters are actually in ASOIAF? I've thought about this, and it's just the one. It's just Bran.
I mean, there is that story. What's the story called? The story's called, like, The Egg or something, and it's like a short story that describes the idea that maybe every person in the universe is actually one person, one soul, and every time you die, you are reborn as another person in the universe. And
When I was a teenager, I wrote a really obnoxious sci-fi story that was basically that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did you write that without having read this short story we're talking about? Or?
Yes.
So you independently came up with the same idea?
Yes.
Cool. And the idea is that you just keep being reborn over and over until your soul has attained the wisdom that it needs to achieve enlightenment, and then to be born out of the universe, which is an egg, and then you reach whatever transdimensional higher frequency where
Okay,
all
I
of
didn't
the
get there.
mature
That's
grown-up
cool. That's
adults exist. Yeah.
Huh. So we're all just the juvenile form of life at the moment, and once we've burnt through everything that's alive.
And I love it because we are juvenile collectively.
Yeah.
Because it
Oh no,
implies
I buy that for sure.
we all need to work together in order to achieve a higher state of consciousness and to stop being dicks to each other all the time. Elizabeth in the live chat says that the story is written by May Haig, and you should go and read it online.
There you go.
Yeah, we recommend it too.
Winterfall says, love your content, guys. It got me to read all the ASOIAF books so far. Also, your voices are the only thing that soothes my dog during thunderstorms. Isn't it great what we can do with our lives? Isn't it great the service we provide to people?
Well,
People's dogs are feeling safer because of us.
I was always trying to aggravate the dogs and make them bark loudly, so I'll have to try harder.
You've failed monumentally.
Thank you, Rogali Don Don, who says, the names are incredible.
Yeah.
Who says, huge fan, managed to catch you live for once from the UK. Have you both ever tried the A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game? It's incredibly fun. Thanks for the content. Just Beans. I haven't done the ASOIAF miniatures game, although we can report that George Martin's bookstore, Beastly Books, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, has all the Ice and Fire miniatures there. Also has a bunch of 40k miniatures there. Also has a TV that continuously plays
like Saturday morning cartoons from the
cartoons.
90s. It was so cool.
Yeah, Beastly Books is a special place. So
Yeah.
if any of y'all find yourselves in New Mexico, we can recommend Beastly Books.
It was a great place to go. Did I get a coffee there?
Do they have coffee at Beastly
Yeah,
Books?
they served coffee. I think I did get coffee there, and it was okay, which is saying a lot because I did not enjoy most of the coffee I had in America.
I was too distracted by the cartoons. Thank you, Armitage, who says, greetings, Gilded Alshorn the Sixth. Firstly, since I probably can't get Gilded to sing Secret Tunnel, can I instead have each of you scream Braveheart style?
Streamlabs. I didn't really know where that was going.
What's a Streamlam?
Streamlabs is the website that we use to.
Oh, I thought there was an M in there.
No,
I thought
no.
it was Streamlams.
You made that up.
And I'm like, is that steamed lambs?
Steam from the.
Steamed hams?
It's an Albany expression.
Entirely in this kitchen? Thank you, Shell Era, who says, thanks for making Thanksgiving fun.
Oh, thanks for giving thanks to us on Thanksgiving. Matty Boo says, here, lads, have a roasted brown turkey lathered in gravy and bursting with sage and onion, scented sliced apples, mashed potatoes that are smooth and pale like butter, and cranberry sauce that is like a dark and glimmering jewel on the table. On me.
This is the stuff, Lionel.
That's the stuff.
That's an S food description. Is that George Martin? Is that George Martin in our chat? Let's see what you're doing.
I wonder what his Thanksgiving's like. Like, could he? Is he gonna write a food description in his blog post about Thanksgiving?
I guarantee
Why
he's
doesn't he
eating
do that?
something delicious.
Thank you, Sam Day.
Thank you, Bane's Basement, who says the Mast and the Viserys, Tokyo Swift.
It's pretty good.
Food is all about family. Thank you. One Hand Gaming, who says, "Hello, Pig Liddy and Swifty Epstein.
What the hell? Get out of here with that.
King Lion equal horse."
Interesting.
Cryptic. Angel Brightflame says, "Hi, Glim Boromir and Schwifgalas.
Wow.
Who's your fave Frey?"
It's tough. There's so many wonderful characters to choose from.
Who's Jenna Lannister's husband's name again?
Is that Emmon?
Yeah, I
Frey?
think he's funny just because of his relationship with the dominant Jenna is quite funny.
I like the Miko portrait of Emmon Frey. That's a good one.
Classic.
I do like Hostine. And like Walder Frey, obviously, Lord Walder, wonderful character, and Big Walder Frey is probably my favorite Frey.
Yeah, Little and Big Walder are fun. Thank you, Armitage, who says, "Secondly, can one or both of y'all say my A Song of Ice and Fire has got the hot D? Oh, my asswife has got the hot D."
There you go.
Nice.
Do you need me to say that too for clipping purposes? My asswife has got the hot D.
Thirdly, do you think Sansa being there for Cersei's Walk of Shame would be interesting for Sansa's theme of imagery versus reality if we pulled a D&D to get her there? Yeah.
I guess that could be interesting, but like it's so implausible.
Yeah. I mean, she could still hear about it, and that might influence her thoughts and feelings. Thank you, Marcilla de Leveria, who says, "It would be supremely funny when, if The Winds of Winter comes out, the first content you come out with is another food tier rank stream."
That sounds great.
Yeah, that would be
way of
very on
announcing.
brand for us. Like, everyone's demanding a particular thing, and we just do the opposite just to be funny. I think that'd be good.
Thank you, Molly, who says, "Huzzah, shout out to getting home from a long working week to a live. Most exciting time for big time floor time while I listen to this and try to forget the horrors. Yes, let's all lie on our floors in these trying times."
I am a big floor time proponent.
It's pretty good.
I have always believed that these podcasts are best listened to on the floor.
Yeah.
There is a sense of stability and oneness and just supreme. When you're on the floor, you can go no lower than the floor.
Yeah, it's all up from there, you know?
It's all up from there. You're in a point of like complete support and stability, and also you can play night crawlers. So
True.
I'm all about floor time. That is how podcasts should be listened to.
And the acoustics down there just work better for my voice.
Thank you, Starry Scar 222, who says, "Hello, Control Spacebar Y and Lie Dust. Swift mentioned The Old Kingdom a while back. Such an amazing series. Would love to hear more of your thoughts."
I have none.
Yeah, so The Old Kingdom is by Garth Nix, Sabriel, Lyriel, Abhorsen. It's about those necromancers who use magical bells to enter the land of the dead. And it's wonderful, and I love it. And I haven't read it in a lot of years, so I can't say much about it. It would be cool to revisit it. I wonder if they'll ever make a screen adaptation of it. It's got that dog, the disreputable dog in it, I think, and it's got like a cat, and it's got everything that YA should have. It's a wonderful
Right.
series.
What's the first book in that series? I might have actually read it.
Sabriel.
Okay, no, I haven't. I've read a different Garth Nix.
It's like a black cover with a blue fiery symbol on it.
You know, they can republish book covers. You know very well that books can have more than one cover.
Let's do an Old Kingdom covers rating stream.
We actually need to update our book covers stream.
Covers part 2.
Yeah,
Another 1,000,000 views.
because there's so many more.
Oh boy. Thank you, Anthony Vargas, who says, "Will you guys ever do a Rulers of Westeros ranking?"
I'd probably, yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I remember the Wars and Politics of Ice and Fire blog did some great essays analyzing all the different Targaryens and kings and how good of a ruler they were. But yeah, I mean, we'd have to do some thinking.
Yeah, I don't want to just off the cuff that.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam K, who says, "Thank you to Glidus and Swift for finishing a series for once.
We did it.
May your bowl of browns contain no human flesh, all your cakes be special, and your chins never lacking grease. Love from New
I
England."
think most cakes are special, actually. That's the secret.
Yeah. No, that's really the holy trinity of this series is bowls of brown with no human flesh, special cakes, and greasy chins.
I can think of one really important thing that they've left out of there.
Locusts!
Flavor says, I put peanut butter and jelly in the ass. I call it peanut butter and jelly ass sandwich. But Rhaegar gonna be calling it lunch.
Thank you, Flavor.
Thank you.
Benjamin Watt says, my first catch of the stream and at the final course. Perfect. Yes.
Now you gotta watch the whole thing backwards.
That's true.
Thank you, Greg, who says, y'all should try borscht.
Borscht!
An Eastern European beet soup. The amount of beet dishes receiving D was too damn high last time.
I have to clarify that there's nothing wrong with beets. We don't mind beets. It's just that was all that was going on.
Anyone who's read Jitterbug Perfume knows that beets are one of the 4 ingredients for immortality.
So there you go. Thank you, Toast. I love you, Toast. You've gotten me through such bad times. Hey, Swifty and Gludus. Do you two have any theories on what might happen to our lovable doggo Summer? It feels dangerous to be linked to Bran, but I always feel jibbed how unceremoniously he died in GOT. Very true. Summer just sort of died. It's basically off-screen. Not quite, but basically.
Here's my prediction. Bran will skin change into Summer to kill Bloodraven.
That sounds cool.
Because Summer is Bran's Stark identity.
Mm-hmm.
And so by killing Bloodraven with Summer, he is rejecting Bloodraven's sinister shenanigans in favor of being himself for his family. But ultimately, I think that Summer will die, because ultimately Bran will lose his Bran Stark identity and become a weird tree god in the end. So, contradicting what I just said, I think ultimately Summer will die.
Okay.
Maybe as a deliberate sacrifice. Maybe Bran will deliberately sacrifice Summer to give power to save others.
What's the, metaphorical meaning of that, though? Because summer is summer. What happens if summer dies?
Yeah, true. I mean,
is this a death of the seasonal cycle?
It makes perfect sense for summer to die in the midst of winter.
Yes. But maybe summer should make it through to summer. I don't know.
Maybe summer is in the Jojen paste, along with Jojen.
No!
Maybe summer
what the hell?
Maybe
Shut
summer
up.
is already dead.
No!
Thank you,
No!
Gabe Anderson, who says, Hi, Glade Air Freshener and Swiffer Wet Jet.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the content. A book-only food review could never capture Captain Cole's Hot D summer sausage.
It's true.
Thank you, General Grievous 92, who says, Hey, Shwunwun and Glag the Mighty.
Glag?
Thank you for letting us see a final 7th part to an Ice and Fire series in our lifetime.
So true.
Also, a hard-hitting question for Swift. Who is your all-time favorite bastard child? Which one of my bastards was it last stream who was really chipper about the war that they were going into? Like, that bastard was in a predicament, but that bastard was real positive about it.
Yeah.
And, I just admire the attitude, because I've been getting a lot of lip from my bastards
of
lately.
negativity from your bastards.
Yeah, getting a lot of nagging from some of my bastards. I really love the chipper attitude of last stream's bastards. Thank you. Well, speaking of bastards, Alt-Shrift Stone says, Dear Father, I have made it to Golden Tooth since your last live with Sir Glimpocalypse. Will you be completing your trilogy in 7 parts as well? Character alignment / theories lives on Spotify when? I'm so glad you asked about when the character alignments and theories streams will be on Spotify, because they are on Spotify.
Whoa. Bit of dramatic irony.
Step ahead of you.
The audience knew something the protagonist did not.
I mean, I might have to double check. It should be on Spotify. I'm pretty sure I did put it on Spotify a couple of weeks ago. So, to the best of my knowledge, all of the Swift Glidus streams are now on Spotify in the Game of Thrones Abridged Alt Swift X podcast feed. And you can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on podcast apps of your choice for free. No ads, offline, however you like.
Whoa.
So, yeah, check it out. And if I'm mistaken and they're not there, please let me know and I'll fix it.
Herb Beta Patched says, Mance was searching for the Horn of Winter, but how would he know if he found the real thing? He can't test it. It's almost like the concept of the horn was a bluff from the start.
Yeah, I don't think the horn does what they think it does. I think that it is an earthquake gun made by the Children of the Forest, probably. And it's going to be really funny when someone uses it, when Euron uses it on the High Tower, and
it breaks
the
the
High
reach.
Tower collapses on him and kills him. Wouldn't that be funny if Euron dies just in an earthquake that he made? Don't play with magic toys, Euron.
True. That does sound like it's where Euron's story might be going, because he is a mere mortal and he's playing around with all these ridiculous magical toys.
Yeah, I think he'll be eaten by the magic that he summons.
Jackhammer says, Happy Thanksgiving for 30 more minutes from New York. Oh gosh, should we cross into midnight? Shouldn't there be a Thanksgiving-type holiday in the world of Ice and Fire for the Andals, or crossing the sea and sharing their culture with the Fursmen? Cheers. That is an interesting idea. There aren't very many like seasonal holidays because, of course, the seasons are out of whack.
Yeah, they mentioned like Maiden's Day and some like Faith of the Seven themed holidays. But yeah, George doesn't get a whole lot into that, partly because he doesn't want us to think about how the calendar works in this world.
Yeah, because it's a mess. Yeah, so there's no Christmas because, like, there's no winter feast because winter is a strange thing that doesn't quite add up. And, like, how are you going to prepare for something that's unpredictable like that?
They do the harvest feast in Winterfell.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, agriculture
But that makes
still
it, like,
has its cycles.
You're just going to do that when the harvest is done.
Yeah, so it's probably a less strong tradition when it's inconsistent and unpredictable.
Yeah. Like, it can't be on the 25th of December when years don't have seasonal cycles.
Thank
I
you,
guess.
Mats, who says, Hello, Glygert and Swiss cheese. Love all this Ice and Fire content.
Thank you.
Thank you, Moral Support, who says, A and G. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for the excellent live streams and analysis. What pitfalls do you fear HBO could make when adapting A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, aside from adapting another unfinished series?
What could they fall into?
Something they did in Hot D was feel like they needed to mention
Right.
White Walkers.
Yeah, tie it into Game of
They
Thrones.
put Daenerys in it, they put White Walkers in it, they put the
dagger.
cat's paw dagger in it.
Fucking dagger.
No one wants to be reminded of Game of Thrones Season 8. So I really hope they don't do that in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and they really don't have to.
No. These stories can and should speak for themselves.
Yes. Thank you, Pie Guy, who says, I think a Bobby B sound clip for when something is actually tasty, like when he's talking to Ned about the South in Season 1. Also, Azora Pie?
Interesting idea. Azora Pie would never give up on the gravy.
Not once. When are we doing the fake hot pie?
Ooh.
It would actually be quite fun to just watch every hot pie scene.
That would be fun. That does sound like a fun time.
Thank you, Greg Legg, who says, Happy Thanksgiving from America. The inspiration for the series mainly comes from Europe, but can you think of any inspiration George got from America?
Totally.
I mean, that's a thesis subject
Yeah.
right there, isn't it? God, yeah, I don't know. That's a big question.
I mean, we were speaking earlier about how, we were thinking that certain things could, like, represent New Mexico or New Jersey, or I think it was Iowa that he went to in his earlier life and found it cold and depressing, and, like, that's maybe what the North is.
George Martin was a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War. And George Martin also lived through his country invading Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. And so I think that all of that politics is part of the context behind A Song of Ice and Fire.
Right, the politics rather than the geography of America.
And also some of the, like, hippie
Yeah, the hippy-dippy woo-wah.
energy that, George had some engagement with. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a deep question. I'd have to think about it.
But the simple answer is yes.
Yeah, yes. He's an American in America. It's the water he swims in.
And he's not writing about Europe. He's writing about a medieval Europe-inspired society, but he's writing about people. And he's an American person. So,
I do think also that more than A Song of Ice and Fire, like, more than it's about Europe, more than it's about America, it's about fantasy literature. I think you could argue that
right.
A Song of Ice and Fire is about Middle-earth,
Yeah.
more than it's about America.
And Middle-earth is largely about England, I guess.
Wait, I mean, if you want to get really wanky, I mean, it's the Jungian archetypes within us all.
Oh,
It's
let me know when you're done.
It's it's like the fantasy that's in all of our souls. It's because he's not just writing about hobbits; he's writing about the idealized longing and dreams,
the
that
human
we
heart,
all
memory, your
collectively
mother's last
share.
kiss.
Yes, so it's about that as much or more than it's about America. Thank you, Lolotov, who says finally awake and busy cooking. You bastards. Thank you, Emmy Collins, who says, yippee! Thank you, Dr. Fuzzy Pants, who says, Happy Thanksgiving, Alt Schnort X and Glimbopulus.
Thank you.
Have been an avid stalker for yonks. Love you.
Thank you for stalking us. Anonymous says, which ASOIAF character would you want to share a beer/meal with, and what real-world or previously ranked meal would you serve?
I think Wyman would be fun. I think Elena would be fun.
Ooh, having a dinner with Elena, yeah. Belwas,
I think Asher might be fun.
fun dinner guest. Stannis would be fun, obviously. He's a fun guy.
Stannis would be awful. Thank you, Plawn, who says, Hey, Schlingles and Glaucoma. Any ideas for what to put on a Game of Thrones Season 8 rewatch bingo board?
Oh, God.
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
Oh, jeez. Anytime something implausible happens...
Every time there's a continuous 20 seconds of no dialogue because because D&D didn't want to write any.
Because, of course, the camera filming an actor's face just makes for good television.
It's actually amazing how much silence is in that show.
It's incredible.
Oh, every time you can't see properly because it's too dark, take a shot.
This isn't a bingo board, but have fun.
Thank you for the donation from Alt-Shift-X?
What the hell?
Laughing Maniac. What is this?
What does this mean?
Is some kind of psychological operation? I don't...
He's never done this before.
Are you deciding to finally pay child support,
I thought he was
Alt-Shift-X? Is that it?
ignoring us.
I always thought Alt-Shift-X watched our streams. Because again, like, I taught him everything he knows.
What a loser.
I don't like that. What's Alt-Shift-X planning?
Thank
Alt-Shift-X
you.
has been quiet lately.
Yeah, true. When's that guy going to get off his ass and do something?
Suspicious.
Thank you, Justice. Now that the series is done, which food description are you most looking forward to in wins? I think the best meal will be the red wine fleet eaten by Euron's Kraken. Surely red wine ships taste better than other ships, with a hint of oak.
Smart. I would love it if we open the Winds of Winter and the first chapter says, Kraken won.
That'd be pretty cool.
Kraken POV chapter. Now that is some cutting edge fantasy literature. New POV character, Kraken. Thank you, Herb Beta Patched, who says, Greg Martin is getting repetitive. He's mentioned salt cod, salt beef, and salt mutton in that order 4 times in the past 2 books. Did you search that search term and get that result, or do you just have like an encyclopedic mind palace? I'm curious how you figured that out.
Well, you're right. Greg Martin is a bit repetitive. Words are wind, Nuncle.
Yeah, well, so's life, and that's part of the joy of it.
Yeah, and I guess you just like salt cod, salt beef, salt mutton in that order.
It's a lot of salt.
It's a lot of salt.
Thank you, Lady Green Tea, who says, Hope you'll enjoy some onions swimming in butter.
Who doesn't?
If onions could swim, do you think they would have... What's it called? Flagella? Is that what, the little tail that some little microbes have?
Yes, flagellum.
Do you think onions would swim with flagellum, or would they have like some kind of a gaseous propulsion system? Or like a nuclear submarine? How do you think onions would swim?
Backstroke.
Butterfly. Thank you, Wealth Wolf, who says, Lovely to hear you guys so soon.
Yeah, true. We are back at it before too long.
Thank you, ASAC Hank Schrader, who says, Why don't the Bolton/Phrase eat the bodies in the crypts? I've seen Futurama. They'd be like jerky.
I was going to eat that mummy.
I mean, some of those Stark corpses are thousands of years old.
Delicious.
I think it's mostly dust.
No, well, it depends on how they were preserved.
I don't think they're like mummifying them.
Yeah, I don't think that this is like Egyptian pharaoh's situation where the flesh is actually still somehow edible after several thousand years.
Thank you, Wyman Manderley apologist, who says, Hi, Glibglob and David Schwimmer. Congrats on your PhD in food descriptions, and thanks for the many great hours of analysis.
Thank you.
A question for you. Which characters do you think will become cannibals
Ooh.
in the Winds of Winter?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Friggin' lots.
I mean, will Jon Snow have to eat after his resurrection? If Jon still needs to eat, I could see him eating people as part of his like nasty stuff that he has to do.
What if he doesn't need to eat and he just does it for the love of the game?
Just for the taste. He
Yeah.
develops the taste for it.
Like when he's in Ghost, he develops a taste for human flesh.
Actually, I think Stannis is going to eat people because I think that like Stannis' story is about him embracing moral compromise to survive and losing his humanity in the process. So I think he might eat people.
Shame.
Shame. Ding. Thank you, Aaron Melgar, who says, Renly voice.
I mean, it's one peach, Stannis. What could it cost? 10 dragons?
Renly absolutely is the kind of
Lucille.
guy who would be completely out of touch with the economic realities of random peasants.
Sends Loras off to go watch a Star War.
If Renly won the War of the Five Kings, he would be exactly like Aegon II, Tom Glencarny in Hot D, where he's sitting on the throne going, oh, we'll just give all the peasants their taxes back.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
th-
they asked nicely.
And then someone has to explain, no, we need taxes to pay for things. So he's like, oh, shit. Politics.
No one told me this.
Oh. Thank you, Anonymous, who says, love you guys. First time catching a stream. Love the work you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carson R. Brown, who says, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy give thanksing to you.
Thank you, Molly, who says, okay, floor time over. Time to
Lock
lock
the
the
fuck
fuck
in.
in and pretend to be productive by continuing my corn husk cordage making extravaganza.
That sounds wonderful.
Loving the stream so far. Is this some kind of a Thanksgiving tradition decoration?
I don't think so.
What is cordage? Is cordage like string?
Are you making a corn husk bracelet, Molly?
I'm imagining like some kind of decorative confetti made out of corn husk. Like some kind of seasonal decoration is what I'm imagining. Is that a thing? Chad, is that a thing?
It is now. Chad, is this real?
Thank you, Carson R. Brown, who says, thank you for everything. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for everything, Carson.
Thank-
Thank you, Anonymous. Our last day in Oz after an amazing holiday topped off by catching you guys live streaming before our flight. Wow. We listened to all of Fire and Blood on audio and had some downloads of your streams to listen to on the road. Thanks for everything. You got it, Anonymous.
Hell yeah. Hope you had fun in Oz, Dorothy.
Wherever that is.
Thank you, W001
Where
Matthew.
did the W come from?
We've been streaming for a while.
True.
Thank you for Glexicographer and the Schwertemologist. More dollary dues for the dictionary
Nice.
fund.
Thank you
I
very
reckon
much.
a few more donations and we're going to be able to afford a dictionary. Then we will finally know what...
What comes after Aardvark?
I bought my dictionary on... You know when you got like a payment plan?
Oh, it's
So
on lay-by.
I own
So you're
lay-by.
receiving it piecemeal?
I've only gotten it page by page, so I know all the words up to Aardvark, but it's a mystery what happens after that. Thank you, Parkour Cabinets, who says, sorry you fellas were called Kiwis on Twitter last week, but
It's
they
okay.
were right that you can both make some of the best video streams ever. Cheers, champagne emoji, crab emoji, bee emoji.
Well, you've said it all right there.
Yeah, you've summed it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Triceratops. Food-related question. How far would you go, or have you gone, to get a certain food you crave that wasn't available in your local area or could not be shipped? My record was 2,000 kilometers away. That sounds like one hell of a story.
What was the food?
Congrats on finishing this series.
Question mark?
Sparkle emojis? Question mark?
Sparkle? Question mark?
How far have you gone for a good meal you couldn't get?
There was an obscure kind of candy that was no longer in production that someone went to great lengths to getting for me, which was really lovely of them. And I'm certain that that expired years old candy was not appropriate for human consumption. But I ate it, and it was great, and I was grateful.
That's so wonderful.
How far have you gone?
Well, I traveled around the world to have a burrito with George R.R. Martin. Does that count?
I think yours is better than my story.
No, yours harkens. It's got memory and friendship. I guess mine does too.
My God. Traveling the world for a burrito with George.
I circumnavigated the planet for that burrito.
And it was worth it.
It was worth it. The burrito itself, not the best meal I had, like even that day.
Are you going to do a stream ranking the burritos that you ate in New Mexico?
Oh, maybe I should.
Thank you, Anonymous, who says, hello, Schmingus and Glystar. If George R.R. Martin... Oh, sorry.
Gurm.
No,
Greg Martin.
Yeah, Greg Martin. If Greg Martin were to prepare you one dish, what would you like him to cook? The Winds of Winter. Next question.
Thank you, Tater Nuts. Hey, Glat and Schwat, take my money, you cretins. Thank you. We will.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Saint Naive. To Gliggy Pop and Slavered Bowie.
Oh, hell
Thank
yeah.
you for the Thanksgiving dessert.
Hell yeah.
Schwiggy Pop and Glavered. Nah, it's okay. You've done all right.
I think Glidus would prefer if you switched it to
Look, it's fine.
Glavered Glowy and Swifty Pop. Thank you, Shiny MK, who says, I love listening to these at midnight, eating Cocoa Krispies and imagining
Oh, hell
this
yeah.
chocolatey goodness are the A to S tier food descriptions. Also, have you guys checked out Bookborn on? She recently finished A Song of Ice and Fire and has awesome takes I never thought of before.
No, I haven't watched Bookborn.
Yeah, I'm not super caught up on like the new wave of Youngblood Ice and Fire YouTubers who are coming up to eat and replace.
Yeah, I try to stay on their good side because
us
I know
old
that
heads.
Zeus will overthrow Kronos.
Yes, very soon the new generation of YouTubers will take us behind the chemical sheds and bury us in the ground where we belong. But until then, I'm just going to keep talking about food.
I'm going to keep eating my children until my wife replaces them with rocks.
You just on that Titan grind.
You got it. Thank you, Alt Swift Whoozy What? Hi, Glundo and Shiftis. Sorry to ask this question. How do you think George is coping with with the US election results? I'm a bit surprised he's not posted anything on Not a Blog, expanding on his previous frustration about not having an impact. Gosh, that's a heavy one.
George Martin has made his thoughts on the 2024 election very clear, and it's not hard to guess how he's feeling about it right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alt Swift Rivers, who says, does Mum, you remember Alice, licking her fingers while she butchers goats count as a meal? How does that rate? Are we talking about Alice Rivers right now? I'm not sure who we're talking about.
Oh, I guess it does, yeah.
She's not killing Del the goat, is she?
No, well, in that scene, in that first scene with Damon in the kitchen...
She was making a weird, hallucinogenic,
I don't think she's
weird potion.
She
for
butchering
him,
a goat there? I
didn't
so.
think she was butchering a goat. Or are you talking about a different Alice? Maybe George needs to stop naming characters of the same name. Thank you, Rob Hater, who says, after watching the sowing of the seeds and seeing how dangerous it is to claim a dragon, how more frustrated are you that John just climbed on Rhaegal?
It was... I don't know if I could have become more frustrated with that scene.
Yeah.
I was already extraordinarily frustrated with it, but like I'm so glad that House of the Dragon gave that sort of thing the reverence that it deserves.
Rhaegal is the perfect opportunity to talk about Jon's father, Rhaegar. How did they not talk about Jon's father, Rhaegar?
Obscene that there was like no reflection on Jon's identity through the last season of Game of Thrones.
Do we need to take a brief ad break?
Sure, why not? Oh no, I'm good.
All right.
If you're worried about that.
Cool. Thank you, Corey Meower, who says, hi, Glimble and Schwimble. Just wanted to thank you lads for these hilarious streams. I fall asleep to them every night, and I only sometimes wake up to a bellowed secret tunnel or two.
I'll try to keep it down next time.
Thank you, Fat Lamprey, who says...
Peppercorn!
Thank you, Kieran, who says, you've finished a series.
We finished a series!
We finished a series! And it's the series that no one asked for. Thank you, APMD, who says, what do you think will be the first meal in Winds?
Probably
human flesh.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Rock Wild Buddha. Love your work, Glimpert and Schwankel.
Ooh.
What's the biggest impact TWOW hype has had on this community, in your opinions? Are we all too far gone? Interesting.
I remember that time when George tweeted something about the 12 days of Christmas or something, and everyone convinced themselves that that meant Winds of Winter was about to be announced, but it was just literally counting down to Christmas.
Because he was excited about Christmas, because Christmas is cool.
Look, if you want to know about the psychological damage that the wait for Winds has wreaked, just look at this live stream series.
Yeah, gosh. I think people are convinced of Clegane Ball, when I'm not entirely sure that will happen.
Yeah, I think Gregor absolutely will be in a climactic trial by combat, and he'll be revealed to be a zombie, etc. But if Sandor will be there, I don't know.
There's lots of theories that are still theories, but a lot of people treat as canon. Like, even R plus L equals J is still technically a theory, right?
Yeah.
But it's a theory almost in the same sense that gravity is a theory. Like yes.
Yeah, no,
it's a scientific theory.
I agree with the perspective that, like, the wait for the books has been so long that fans have gotten very sort of set in their theories and their perspectives. While George, meanwhile, his mind is still whirring and changing, and he's still rewriting the books and coming up with new ideas. So while we have been stuck with the same material the whole time, he, I think, is maybe coming up with new ideas, and we may be surprised with some of the things that are in the Winds of Winter that go against our expectations.
Like over a decade of like a million people thinking about this, and I'm sure that perhaps one person has got it, and they're not a YouTuber.
Think of how different Feast and Dance
Exactly.
are to the books that preceded them. I think we might find something that... I mean, I think Winds will probably be shockingly slow-paced, shockingly dark, and with some plot twists that no one saw coming. I think that might be what happens.
Yep.
Thank you, Narrow Dark, who says, "I'ma oil you up."
Thank you. Thank you, APMD, who says, #I was there. You sure were.
Thank you, One Hand Gaming, who says, "Great, now list the ranks in descending order." I actually am interested to, like, see that. Like, to see all of these food rankings in order. Like, it would be a fiddly thing for us to figure out how to do.
I'm not doing that.
I also don't want to do that. So we probably won't, but it would be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
I guess, marginally. Thank you, Matthew Schumacher, who says, "Hey guys, great episode. I'm very happy to catch one live. Me and my friend have loved your guys' stuff for years. Also, could you guys please tell said friend that Joffrey hired the cat's paw? It'll make him so angry." I won't say that because I don't believe it.
That's what Jeff Martin says, so argue with Jeff Martin. Yeah, no, it is one of those weird mysteries. Early installment, growing pains, perhaps. I think... Like, how would Joffrey even know where to get an assassin while he's in Winterfell?
But then, you know, Tyrion and Jaime have that conversation about it, and it's like, oh, I guess Joffrey did it, even though, like, what?
What if Joffrey asked Sandor to arrange it for him? That might make slightly more sense.
I guess.
Thank you, Castellan Glimbo's Ghost, who says, "Father, send money. Was murdered due to Swifter's incompetence / peasant negligence. You can borrow the pennies under the tree. Stop. Send money, or I will haunt thee. Stop. Best regards." Castellan Glimbo / Glimbo's son, dead / alive.
Thank you.
Is this a telegram? No, it's a ghost. It's a ghost.
It's a ghost. Everyone knows ghosts talk like this.
Talking in all caps like death in Discworld. I think we've got a haunting coming.
That's okay. I was due for one anyway.
There's
It is almost Christmas.
There's
And I have been relatively miserly recently.
More than usual?
Yeah, that is what relatively means.
Thank you, Belantron, who says, "Glidus, can you please act out my favorite Game of Thrones scene IRL? You play as Stannis months into the Storm's End siege, and you only have one thing left to eat."
We've gone through the dogs, the cats, the horses, the shoes, and now all I have is this dark fantasy novel. The 6th installment of the series.
Teeth grinding sound effects. Thank you, Arcus Thiel, who says, "Hey Glibby and Schwilibby." Have fun pronouncing that one.
Schlibbly.
We've been training, like, you guys are throwing this stuff at us.
Yeah,
like, we're getting
seasoned.
pretty good.
Yeah.
You got to get up pretty early to make us mispronounce a car crash version of our names. Great series. Now that we're all informed, you guys must be ready for the Brian David Gilbert-like cooking stream, right? Cooking every recipe in Song of Ice and Fire
For the long night gourmand. You don't know how close to the truth you trek.
Brian David Gilbert made a whole video about his hair care routine, right? Are you going to do something similar?
Oh, maybe I should.
People would watch the hell out of that.
Oh, I doubt it.
I could learn a thing or two.
Thank you, Molly, once more, who locked in too hard and made 5.5 meters of corndage and ran out of dried corn husks. New Pictionary would be great fun. I agree. Great stream as always. So exciting to have basically finished a series.
What is Molly going to do with 5.5 meters of corn
I'm excited to find out.
I knew someone who made like hundreds of paper cranes as some kind of meditation exercise / party preparation. And I don't know how their fingers stayed attached
Wow.
after all of that.
Thank you, RL Holds the Key.
Thank you. All hail the algorithm.
Oh, hail the algorithm.
Hail. Who says, "Hello, Glimber and Elf Schwifber. Which character from Ice and Fire would you like to see star in a musical? And which would you choose? Z is greater than Z. Love heart."
Wrong.
I think Rhaegar would have so many sad songs.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I was just going to say Davos because I thought it would be funny.
I think
you're
Cersei,
right.
like, you know, like
Oh,
that, like,
she's a diva.
you know, like Hellfire, that song, that Disney
From-
song
from
in
Notre Dame.
That one, yeah, Cersei would do like a wildfire.
That is such a great song.
Wildfire. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Quint2597, who says, first time donator, mostly watched the Dragon Time segments. How would you collectively feel about an edition where you were drinking something
Strong.
I think we have on occasion dabbled in that
we
area.
have tasted the devil's water.
Yeah, I mean, we could do like a drinking game kind of a stream one day. But I mean, I mean, not to be like that guy, but like, I don't necessarily want to like celebrate
Yeah.
alcohol consumption in a place where young people might be listening and might get the wrong idea.
Also, like my days of getting horribly drunk, I'd like them to be behind me for the most part.
Yeah, I like booze, but sometimes it's not the best thing to celebrate. I know that's just like a shockingly sensible thing for us to say, but you know, it's kind of how I feel.
Thank you, Annabelle Carter.
Thank you, Anonymous, who says, I recently heard about the Shireen is Melisandre theory. Can you explain this one to me? No.
No, your guess is as good as mine.
Well, no, I can. Because when Shireen is burned, in the same way that Mance was replaced with Rattleshirt, we're going to find that Shireen was replaced with Melisandre. And Melisandre, of course, cannot be harmed by fire because she's a fire white. So basically, Shireen and Melisandre are actually performing a kind of a fusion dance to become the Stone Flame, imbued with the powers
What
of
the
both.
fuck?
Well, Shireen has grayscale, and that combines with Melisandre to give her the power to lob flaming stones.
Captain Planet
Great
bullshit.
flaming balls, because with their powers combined. And then Jon brings the Ring of Friendship, and then they just bop the Night King on his noggin.
I see.
Bonk.
You're too good at that, and it concerns me.
Thank you, Stansky, who says, what are your thoughts on the theory that Bloodraven's entire plan has been a convoluted plot to stop Fagon, young Griff, from taking the throne, thereby keeping his record of foiling Blackfire plots unbroken?
I think, as ever, Bloodraven is looking at a bigger picture than his like so-called political rivals, and that like Bittersteel and his legacy are like a worm beneath Bloodraven, and like he might have to take the time to stomp it out. But he's focused on something else.
And yet, Bloodraven tells Bran about the brother he loved and the brother he hated and the woman he loved. He talks about the Blackfires
Right, yes.
in Bran's chapter. And George's characters are only interesting when they still have those human loves and hates and desires.
That is in the context of him discussing the things he's given up to be who he is now.
Yeah, but when faced with it, I think
Yeah.
it could be really interesting if Bloodraven's like, hang on, young Griff is a Blackfire? I think Bloodraven might not know that fact.
Oh.
Because young Griff grew up in Essos.
Yeah, right.
I think it's very plausible that Bloodraven doesn't know everything. Bloodraven doesn't even know that he's the three-eyed crow.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there's no weirwoods in Essos as far as we know. So I think it would actually be really interesting if Bloodraven's like, huh?
Yeah, if young Griff meets with Ariane in a cave in the Stormlands and there's like a weirwood stump there or something.
Of course, we don't know if... Yeah, that's a cool theory of how we might find that out. But, of course, we don't actually know for sure if young Griff is a Blackfire.
Yeah, no, that's all speculation.
And we may never know. But it would be cool if... I mean, maybe Bloodraven will be the person who reveals or alleges that young Griff's a Blackfire and also I don't care.
Yeah?
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, there's a lot of ways that could be relevant and interesting. So I think it's a great question. And... yeah, fascinated to see how it plays out. I think part of Bloodraven still cares.
Yeah,
that
yes,
feud.
Yes. We may have to lightning around these last few.
All right. Gizkari, end of an era. Thanks for the hours of laughs. Frey tier list when?
Oh, didn't Fantasy Haven just do that? We don't need to do that.
Watch Fantasy Haven. Thank you, Dr. Honey Smacks, who says, I caught a live stream live.
Crazy.
Mystical as lemons in Bravos.
True. Real. Thank you, DMCP, who says, thoughts and comments on the Shireen as Melisandre. We just talked about that. What the hell? Also, I love you, boyos. You spread a lot of happiness. Greetings from Brazil.
Another B. Brazil
Yeah.
donator.
Thank you, Michaela Height. First time I've called you guys live. Love all your content. I read the Game of Thrones books because of you. What is the wackiest theory you've ever heard?
The one that I just said.
Yeah, that's pretty wacky.
Thank you, Derek First, who says, did they mention Alicent's fingernails yet? Yum. Ban Derek.
Not a part of the books, so no.
RL Holds the Key, who says, hi, Swifty and Gliders. First time catching a live stream. If you had to eat one country's food for the rest of your life, what country would it be?
Oh. Well, does it have to be that country's native cuisine or just the food that is available in that country?
Yeah, I mean, like, America has most places food in it somewhere.
Exactly. It's not like you have to only eat... Like, if you're in Australia, you don't only have to eat bloomin' onions, which is, of course, an Australian food that we all eat all the time.
Legally required.
Yeah.
If you're saying a cuisine, I think Thai or Japanese.
Thai. Thai.
Thank you, Darth
Good.
Swiftius, who says, would you rather take Shade of the Evening or Spice Melange?
Huh.
Well, I mean, I think Spice Melange, because Spice Melange makes you live longer, whereas Shade of the Evening makes you see ghosts who want to steal your life. Spice Melange is not as dangerous as Shade of the Evening seems to be. And if you're not a Kwisatz Haderach Gigabrain, you probably won't even trip all that hard on Spice Melange. And it can lead to orgies, so I'm going to choose Spice Melange.
Will says, hey mates, you went on about stinging nettles last stream and whether or not you can eat them. You can actually eat them, you just need to boil the toxins out. Didn't I mention like stewing them or something? And they make a lovely soup, especially with bread.
Nice.
Well, good for them.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Nicodemus Edwards, who says, hi Glunga, Ultima Swig, dragon tastes like gator. Sure.
If they eat chickens. Thank you, Rhaegar seems like kind of a dick, who says, thanks for all the content. Do you think ASOIAF is somewhat commentary on GWB/War on Terror?
Yep.
Do you think Winds of Winter will also comment on the Trump administration?
Oh, that's an interesting idea, and probably.
Yeah, I think George can't help but be influenced by the political circumstances of his country, and he has blogged about those circumstances. But also, like, this is a story that got started
in
1996.
Oh, before then.
And also, like, George's politics and perspectives were, you know, partly born in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So, yeah, all of the above, I guess. Thank you, Saga Björk, who says, how poetic to finally catch a live for it to be the last one of this series. Thanks, Glib and Schlib.
Thank you. And thank Pasty Bean. Hey, Glumpington and Schlumpington. What do you think of the theory that the Maze Makers were the original Dragon Riders and the Deep Ones are dead children of the forest?
I'm not super familiar with the Lorathi Maze Maker theories. I do think that the Ashai were probably the first Dragon Riders, and the Great Empire of the Dawn might have been there. I think LML talks about a lot of that stuff. Deep Ones are dead children of the forest. That I haven't heard. Maybe they are the Mud Pots.
Ooh. Love mud pots.
Thank you, Andre Montoya, who says, hello, Glupschwifto X. Glidus, have you specifically said you would eat the Winds of Winter in book form? Could you perhaps eat it printed on hundreds of sheet cakes, i.e. Ship of Theseus? Happy Thanksgiving.
Look, I've thought about all of this, and what I have in store, you just have no idea.
Glidus has plans beyond your ken.
Exactly. Thank you, DMCP, who says, say it with me,
ignore death, assume you live a long life as any character. Which A Song of Ice and Fire chat would you choose to be and why? Chat?
Character, I assume.
The Hightower Lord, Leighton Hightower.
Oh, yeah?
Chill in the tower with your mad maid.
Sure.
Do spells. That sounds great.
Who's living a good life in Westeros?
Not many people.
Yeah.
Thank you, SLID6D4AF1C373013DE8.
I have to go soon.
Who says,
you do it.
Father, I appreciate your appreciation. Turns out they just stopped attacking us. We're shockingly fine. Thank you. Your bastard son, SLID6D4AF1C373013DE8.
You didn't pronounce the hyphens and the underscores.
The silent hyphens. We're going to wrap up this live stream. We've got to wrap it up. We are so grateful for all of your support and your viewing, and you can please like and subscribe to Glidus and OctShiftX. You can follow and listen on Spotify or the podcast app of your choice.
Thank you to moderators in chat.
Thank you to Schubert Reads and any other moderators in the chat. Thank you everyone for listening. Wealth Wolf, I see you, Wealth Wolf. Great Empire of the Yawn, hell yeah. This has been fun. This has been
What a great series.
ridiculous. This has been surprisingly educational, but most
Yeah.
of all, this has been delicious.
Scrumdiddly-yumptious.
Mwah.
All right, happy Thanksgiving, all you merry Yanks.
Till next time. Yeah.